Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we are going all monsters all night long. Dogman on the West Coast. Yeah, we are getting into it. Shane Michael Crisp is here from the West Coast Dogman Project, and we're going to be talking about it all night long. I am pumped up about this one. Very pumped up. And you should be too. We're going to learn a lot tonight from Shane Michael. And then in hour number 3, we'll get to the swamp. Tim Senor is here for the UFO report. A very busy show indeed. Let's say hello to a jam-packed chat room so far. Hey, there's Joe Strelski. Yeah, Joe. How's the beard, buddy? How's the beard? Yes, my man. All right, Eternity Eternal in the gold medal position. We got Race Fan in silver. And Roy Boy taking over the bronze. There's Dogface Simon in Australia. Chris 716, how you doing? Nightmare, Michael Morris, Miss Sasquatch, how are you? Miss Sasquatch will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Let's rock and roll. There's Robert Lamoth, Sugar Britches, how y'all doing? Rugged Source, Dave Walters and Kamloops, how you doing, buddy? And there we go with Brown Dwarf. And who else do we got here? Carrie Toussaint. Welcome to SOR chat. Sandy B, how are you? Chasing the Truth. Sean G, how you doing, man? Lisa C, good to see you. D Cohen, nice to have you back. And Kathy Evans, how are you? Donna, what's happening? Hi, Monica. Jenny White Bear, we love you, Jenny. And who else do we have in our chat room tonight? Let's say hello to Midnight Sasquatchers. Yeah, there you are. John Hinoyosa, it's been a while. Good to have you back. Lisa Crisp, I'm sure you might know our guest. You may know him. I'm just thinking you do. But welcome to SOR chat. Javier, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you, Cryptid559. And who else do we have? Pam Harris, Stephanie Blankenship. Welcome, Kenny, at Spaced Out Radio here. And here we go. Me, Woiken, Area 51, Jessica W. David Page, Millennium, my man, Pat Toohey. Laura Lobbs is here. Laura's going to be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Toombs and Raymond L., nice to see you guys. Noble Patrick, good to have you back. Mac Geek, good to see you as we continue on with our roll call. Stephen Edmond, always a pleasure, my man. And Sir Pent, good to see you. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Pixie Lara, thank you for joining us. Love V Love, Penman. And there's Joel Strelski. God, I love his beard and hair combination. Best in the business. Absolute best. Paramarv, Sibylla Irwin, Zen One. How y'all doing? Zach, how you doing? Body Tech, good morning to you. And who else do we have here? Joe, are we seeing you and Benny in Vegas? We need to know. Cryptid and Paranormal Kingdom, how are you? Richard Elmore, thanks for coming on in. Damian K, Emmy Tong, SJ, thank you for joining us. And Jessica McCreary, Welsh Hammer, Gray Troll, what's happening? Good to have you all here. Hi, the Ferret, Bigfoot Anonymous. Connor, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. And Rex Goodrum, nice to have you here. Hi, Sparkles on Facebook. And who else do we have here? Big J, good to see you, my man. And Rob G, how you doing, buddy? I'm going to start the radio side here. So that way we can let Bill WD-40 into the show so he can lube us up for tonight. Never have too much lube going into a show. TMI and Ilka, how are you? And there's little Timmy Senor, the anonymous Rex. We got 20 seconds. The super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And you can do a little shopping at spacedoutradio.com. At the next break, I have some information regarding Vegas. So make sure you check it on out. Thurston Howell III, how you doing? Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old baby the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. It's a power show of information tonight, starting off with Shane Michael Crisp, who's going to talk Dogman momentarily on the West Coast. Then in hour number 3, we're going to bring you stories from the swamp, courtesy of Swamp Dweller. Tim Senor returns for the Cryptid Report. Shane Michael Crisp grew up extremely fascinated and always believing in Bigfoot and UFOs, but he never really looked into them due to fear of ridicule, like most of us. It wasn't until August 2021 when a coworker told him about this strange creature called the Dogman. At first, hearing the name, he laughed about it, said no such thing exists. But now, yeah, he's all in. Yeah, he's pushed all his poker chips into the Dogman middle table, and he started up the West Coast Dogman Project, started doing boots-on-the-ground research. He's the founder of West Coast Dogman and the founder of the United States Dogman Federation, also a Region 1 director for Jody Cook's North American Dogman Project. We're going to get some serious information about this werewolf-like creature running around the North American forests. Shane Michael Crisp, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time, my man. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dave. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, man, we are going to have fun tonight. I mean, you're relatively new in this field. But you decided to finally put, something together and do this for yourself. How does that go about, man? How does that go about where literally you're sitting around one day, maybe having a cold one with a buddy or two, and what are you like? I got to do something about this. I got to figure this out for myself. Break it down how you got into this.
Well, that's what, like how you said earlier, I literally put all the poker chips in the middle. I was 31 years old at the time, or 30 years old actually. And I was just like, I want to learn on this thing because there's not a whole lot of information out there. And I never heard of a dog, man. So I'm like, what do I have to lose? What is it that, the fear, the ridicule, like you said earlier, that's what I feared, but I was like, what's there to lose? So I just dove in head first and I started researching Dogman and I started listening to Vic Cundiv's show and then started looking up other YouTubers who had talked about it, like Jeff Nadolny, who does extensive research, and Javi with Cryptid 559. I came across his channel, and in early 2022 was my first time actually going out in the field, was his research area up by Avocado Lake, where he had a Dogman encounter here in California. And I took the wife out and we hiked and looked around. Area was really eerie. I didn't see anything though, but it was during the day. But that's where I was just dove head first. And I just wanted to learn more about the Dogman. So every day for the last year and a half, I've just been researching, and a lot of my studies are online because, you can't really get out in the field every day as much as I'd like to. Family, sports, having a kid, work. So my little research area where I go is a place called Shaver Lake, California. It's actually a big Sasquatch area. And there's been a few reported sightings in the last few years of dogman sightings or werewolf-like creatures. So I go up there when I can, and that's where I try to do my boots on the ground research and go from there.
Okay, I mean, you're in the middle of Sasquatch area here on the West
Yes.
Coast, man. Why Dogman?
That's the thing. I learned so much about Sasquatch and the shows like Finding Bigfoot or all these other shows on UFOs. I've always been fascinated by it. I just never, really dove into it. I think I dove more into the UFO before I really dove into the Dogman. Hearing, Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp and Bob Lazar got me all into the aliens. And then disclosure happened. They started releasing a little bit of information here and there. But I'm like, okay, UFOs. I've always believed in those things. But it was the Dogman that just really intrigued me. And I've always been fascinated by werewolves ever since I was a little kid. Watching the show or the movie, Stephen King's Silver Bullet, it always fascinated me. Did I ever think they were real? No, I just thought it was Hollywood. But diving more and more into the research, you start finding out certain things. And what really got me into the Dogman phenomenon was the everyday people seeing these things from all across the country. And they're all very similar, whether they're looking like the hyena variant or breed or the German Shepherds, or it's just, there are just so many different ones. And for, 5 people to say that, hey, I saw a werewolf walk into the corn, okay, maybe they're probably crazy. But when you have 500 people saying they've seen the same thing for the last 30 years, it really sparked an interest in me. And I'm like, okay, there's something more out there. Is it flesh and blood or is it interdimensional? We don't know. There's people that are believers on both sides. I keep an open mind to both. I'm not saying, hey, you're crazy if you believe that they're coming and portal hopping. And there's been a lot of reports I've heard of that these things come out of portals and they're wearing suits, running out in formation. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, you have to really keep an open mind to it. Did that person really see it? It's his story. We weren't there, so you just have to take them for the word.
See, I love that about you. I'm already excited about you because you have your own beliefs, but you're not allowing your own beliefs to dictate where the information or the stories take you. Now, a story like that where they're coming out in uniforms in football formation ready to tackle you, I mean, were they wearing helmets? I don't know, but I mean, the whole idea about it is that is someone's story. That is what they saw. The majority of people out there are good, honest people who are scared to hell about encountering one of these creatures, whether it's Dogman, whether it's Sasquatch or ghosts or aliens and UFOs. They don't know what they're talking about. And I don't say that for ignorance. I say that because they've never encountered something like this before. And they don't know who to talk to about it, which is great for people like you who are researching this. But it truly does show, Shane Michael, that we can't throw any anecdotal story out the window because it sounds too far-fetched.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And like you said, that's why I joined the North American Dogman Project, because like you said, people, they see these things, it's their story, but they don't want the ridicule or the fear. And I was in that spot. But that's why, I joined the North American Dogman Project to be, a place where people can go and tell their encounter, whether it be on the phone or just anonymously through an email, something that we can document and say, hey, you saw this here, at this time on this date. And we can, I'm the Region 1 director for the North American Dogman Project. Jody nominated me after Dev Rooney stepped down. And I just went full on from there. And I'm talking to a lot of people right now, about 4 or 5 different people throughout the Western United States that are part of the Region 1, under the Region 1 jurisdiction. And, we're trying to recruit state reps, field investigators, teams, just to get, when someone does see a dog man, we can get a team out there to investigate the area. And that's why I created West Coast, was to just be a place where people can come and talk and share their evidence, whether it's, the photos, people take photos of pareidolia. Others are going to say pareidolia, but 30 people might see something in that photo. So like I say, I keep an open mind to it. If I don't see it, I just say, I scroll past. But I just want to be an outlet and spread the awareness of this cryptid as the sightings increase every day. It seems like the Dogman has overtaken the Bigfoot, in my own personal opinion, in the cryptid field in fascination, because no one's really heard of it. They just think of the name, oh, it's Dogman. It's so funny. It's not real. But the thing is, I've learned through the Bigfoot community, because I do run another page called the West Coast Sasquatch Project, because I'm a big Sasquatch believer. But I've talked to some Sasquatch people, and they say they don't believe in Dogman. It's like, okay, but if you can believe in Bigfoot, why not keep an open mind to a Dogman? It's just one of those things that we're going to run into with these communities that, you just have to keep an open mind to it at the end of the day.
Oh, very true. Very true. And you have to keep that open mind, because if you shut everything out, or you start, and this is where I'll criticize the Sasquatch area, because, like, I know there's people up here in British Columbia who are, they love to announce they're going out in the forest to find the British Columbia monkey, or the North American monkey, or you get, the BFRO there, which has actually been caught numerous times red-handed editing their own reports, because they want to be very sciencey. They don't want to have UFOs around, or paranormal experiences around, or orbs, or anything along those lines. And they've actually been caught a number of times editing, which absolutely skews their statistics. It really does. And I don't like that whatsoever, but that's a different conversation for another time. You're the one who's getting these reports firsthand. What are the people saying when they turn it into you? What's some common denominator?
Well, that's the thing. We haven't gotten a whole lot. I mean, the West is kind of quiet as of recently in the last year on Dogman. There's been certain sightings here and there, but they go all the way back from 20 years ago. The research I've done online is I've tried to map out the most recent encounters, looking up the NADP archives to use in Vic Cundiv's channel, these certain, pages to kind of map out where these most recent sightings are. But the most recent one that I know of was in 2017, was in the Jedediah National Forest, possibly 2018. But the Dogman photo, there was a hiker that was coming from Washington and coming back from a concert. And, he was hiking through the Jedediah, and he heard a loud roar, and he saw two people, which he thought was kind of strange, two other hikers. And when he turned back around, he took a picture of what he saw roaring, and as it was walking away into the tree line. And then that photo was actually sent to the NADP, and Dev Rooney, the former Region 1 director, actually talked to the eyewitness, wrote up the report, and they sent the photo to Jody, and they had it sent to other experts, showing that the photo wasn't tampered with. And that's, to me, it's one of the best, I'd say, top 5 photos I've seen on the Dogman. But as of recently in the West, I haven't got a whole lot of reports, actually.
Well, you know what? They're going to come. They are going to come, because I know up in my area here, we know where the dividing line is so far. And I had never heard any Dogman encounters in my area, British Columbia, up until probably 5 years ago. I got one from way up north, where it's like frozen half the time. And yeah, go figure. Canada saying it's frozen half the time. I get that. Nice pun, Dave. Way to go. But seriously, I got one from way up north. And then I got one from the Kootenays area, which is by Alberta. And, just south of that would be Montana and Idaho. Okay, so that kind of makes sense. But in my area, I've heard 3 or 4 Dogman encounters now. Yeah, including from a couple of First Nations elders who were out hunting black bear just a couple years ago. Wow. And they were about 250 yards away. The one brother raised the rifle because he thought there were 2 black bear standing on their hind legs looking back at them. And he put the rifle up, looked through the scope, put the rifle down, and said, "We got to get out of here."
Wow.
It was that quick.
See, I've recently just heard one in Washington where a guy actually shot and killed one, according to Jeff Nadolny, who read the report on his channel, and that was out of Washington. So I don't remember the exact year. I don't remember if they stated the year. Because I listen to Dogman Encounters. I listen to Dogman 24/7. Whatever I could find on YouTube, I'm listening to it. So, but like you said, I haven't received a lot of reports yet. I think I've received 2 actually in the last 6 months being in this director role. So hopefully as time progresses, we'll get more, because that's what I'm about, is about spreading awareness and getting boots on the ground research out here in the West. So
Absolutely. And it's coming. It's coming. I think this creature is starting to spread itself out more, and it's growing, and the phenomena is out there. The phenomena, I believe, lets you see what you want to see. But what I want to concentrate on till the bottom of the hour here, for our listeners, say, who are on terrestrial radio, who may have never heard of this werewolf-like creature. They've all heard of werewolves. What's the difference between a werewolf, in your opinion, and this dogman creature?
Okay, so with werewolves, that we've all know from watching Hollywood movies, is you have to be cursed and you have to wait till the full moon, and then you shapeshift into these things and you pretty much attack and kill things until the full moon's gone. And then, but a dogman is something that doesn't transform. It's in its physical form 24/7. It doesn't shapeshift. And the thing is, one thing I've also learned about with werewolves, if they are real or if they're not, like I said, I keep an open mind to it, but they only travel solo. And compared to dogmen, there's been multiple encounters, multiple reports. They travel in a pack. And very rarely will you ever see one dogman. If that's the case, like I say, I keep an open mind to it. Other researchers have said that that's either an older dogman that's been kicked out of the pack, kind of like a wolf almost, that they're kind of like a loner. And that's just the two big differences in dogmen and werewolves. Werewolves obviously shapeshift, dogmen don't.
There seems to be like a human side to the werewolf legend. There really does seem to be a human side to it. And I will give you that all too well on that one. I mean, when you say cursed for the werewolf, you obviously have had to do your research on that. Would you explain to our audience what you mean by cursed?
It almost seems like something that has to be almost evil. Like, I mean, according towards like the werewolf lore, is you get bitten by one, you turn into one, right? Well, I mean, if you go down and take the werewolf lore down to the Cajun country of Louisiana, you almost have to almost do bad things to become one. Just like with the skinwalkers, you have to almost kill a family member to turn into one. Right now, I've been researching a lot because I'm, half Hawaiian, is the Kaupe, which is the Hawaiian werewolf. And it's mythological, but you almost have to almost have someone commit suicide to become these things. And the Kaupe is just like the skinwalker. It's a shapeshifter, but it's also in the werewolf form. So one of those things is, if you align all the werewolf lores together, there's something obviously out there, and they all connect. They all shapeshift, and it all seems like it involves darkness and something real evil or sinister.
You mentioned a report where a person allegedly killed one of these up in Washington State. Do you buy that story? And the reason why I ask that, okay, is there's a lot of people in this field who are looking for their 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of fame. I'll tell you, I don't think these things can be killed. I really don't. Same as Sasquatch. And I could be in the minority in thinking that way, but I just think that if someone killed a dogman, I wouldn't be going to a podcast right off the bat and saying that I killed one, number one. But number two, I sure as hell would put it in an area secure, the body at least, secure if you have the body, number one. And number two, I would trust the most trusted person I know, who's as close to a scientific person as possible, to help me figure out what to do with this. How about you? Do you think this creature can be killed?
Well, we've had a few reports. I don't know if they're creepypastas or if they're real legit stories. The one that was killed in Washington, the gentleman said that he'd shot it. And when he went to go back with, I'd have to send you the link and really have to listen to it. I'm kind of just summarizing what I remember. I listened to it about a week ago. But the gentleman killed the dogman and then went back up there, but there was Black Hawk helicopters. So there was a government involved. And so, I mean, that's another thing. Is it creepypasta? I don't think the gentleman that puts the content on his show is into all that. It was written. I know it was a written report that was written and sent to him. So he's just reading what happened. But I do believe dogman with a high caliber round, possibly. if you ever heard of the Joe Barger's encounter up in Michigan, where he was driving down, carrying a freight load, and a dogman came running up the side of his semi, and it tried lunging itself into the vehicle. Well, he pulled out his gun. I can't remember the caliber or what type of pistol he had, but he fired it, shot it right between the eye, dropped it instantly. And when he turned back around about 10 minutes, because he, carrying a heavy load, he turned back around, he saw an old couple. And the old couple, he talked to him on my phone. I remember him saying, they're like, yeah, we saw two, black bears or two bears in the area. But I guess you can see the blood mark as if another dogman had grabbed the body and dragged it back into the tree line. So, and he's been on, he was at the Dogman conference last year and told his encounter. I believe Martin Groves actually told his encounter. And Martin Groves is another one that's actually ran into these dogmen, and former police officer, almost had to wait till after he retired to talk about his stuff just because of the ridicule. So do I believe dogmen can be killed? I guess just like anybody, maybe in the soft tissue points. I definitely don't believe in the chest. I believe they do have a thick chest. So when people say they fired a shotgun at it and it didn't drop, I believe they do have thicker chest plates. But I believe if you got one in the eye or, in the throat, maybe, I believe that they can be taken down. So like I say, I keep an open mind to it. But then again, people say they've shot them and then the things just disappear and you see the blood trail and all of a sudden it disappears. So are they jumping through portals? Are they jumping through trees? Don't know.
Well, what's funny is I recall one of the first Dogman stories that I ever heard. It was somewhere in the South where this young man was riding his bike, and he was out coming home from a night of shooting or a day of shooting with his buddies. And he was riding his bike and he saw one of these creatures come out of the woods. First heard it tracking him, and then it came out of the woods, stood right on the road. I mean, this kid put about 15 alleged bullets into this dogman with an AR-15 from, less than 100 yards away or 50 yards away. Mm-hmm. And this thing just was like, give me more. So I really don't know. It all depends on what the factors are.
Exactly.
I mean, like with Sasquatch, if the creature is some sort of interdimensional being or shapeshifter or something like, has some sort of special power, I understand that after a couple hundred years of research on this in North America, since people have been making and writing down their claims, I think we would find something by now.
I would agree. I believe we do have more evidence on the Sasquatch than we do the Dogman. We have the Patterson Gimlin film. We've got hair samples, footprints, the tree structures that all pinpoint to Sasquatch. Dogman, we're at a concrete wall right now because we don't have videographic evidence, or if there is, it hasn't been leaked out in fear of ridicule, or they've been said or told, hey, don't share this, or, face prosecution almost. So, I thought the Gable film for the longest time was real because I don't believe a guy in a ghillie suit can move like that. But like I said, I obviously it was proven to be a hoax, on Monster Quest. But then again, I also keep an open mind to other researchers that have told me, hey, was he silenced into saying, hey, this isn't a real Dogman video? Obviously Monster Quest came out and said it was fake. But when he did the reenactment of himself wearing the ghillie suit, he didn't move the same. So
very true. Shane Michael, I'm going to get you to hold on right there.
Okay.
We're going to step away for our break here at the bottom of the hour. Shane Michael Crisp from the West Coast Dogman Project is hanging out with us, talking about this weird and strange creature called the Dogman. We're going to learn more about it when we return on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Stay tuned. All right, man, we're clear.
All right.
So our audience can hear us there. Okay, let's say hello to everybody on Facebook.
I see you have a cryptid 559 hat hanging on your Sasquatch.
I do.
That is awesome.
There. Where is it here? Hold on. Right there.
Right there.
Yep.
Hobby's such a cool guy. I love that guy. He's such an awesome, incredible researcher and investigator.
Hobby's a good dude. I didn't understand why he kept trying to trip me down the hallway, but no, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. Right. But, Javi, I actually, true story. I bought 4 hats of a hobby
Oh, right
down
on.
there. One for me, one for my boy, and that one's mine. And then I got a couple for my buddies who come out with me. But Javi also threw into my little bag a water bottle, right?
Oh, right on. I think
And
he's shared that a few times. Or
yeah,
once, I think I saw it on Facebook. I was like, I got to get one of those.
yeah. Well, the problem is it's already been stolen by my son.
Oh,
Yeah, he
darn
he saw it.
it.
He saw it, and he's like, "Hey, Daddy, I'm taking this." I'm like, "No, that's fine." He's like, "Not anymore. I want it." And my boy's a good boy. I mean, it doesn't take him hard to twist my arm a little bit, but yeah, my son stole it.
How old's your son?
He's 9.
Oh, I got a 10-year-old. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
good
So
kids.
I've already lost. I've already lost the mug or the
Oh,
water.
well, at least you got the hat. So, I mean, that's,
I got the
you
hat
always
right
present
there.
that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We're gonna get Javi and Jesus on here very, very soon on
Yeah, you
Space.
definitely there. Like I say, he's had Dogman Encounters. I mean, he's boots on the ground researcher and credible guy. Him and I actually did a Dogman investigation down in LA, LA area about 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And we didn't find any circumstantial evidence. I think the guy, he went on a podcast and told about his encounters, not to discredit the guy. We just didn't find any evidence of what would be Dogman. There might be certain things that might have been, but it wasn't like 100 dogmen like he was stating. So we interviewed a few homeless people, or the ones that wanted to talk, because he was saying that the homeless had gone missing in the area. But then again, we don't know if it was really, dogmen, or if it was just, drugs, or, gang related, or it could have been any of those. But my personal opinion was it wasn't dogman related. I believe he might have seen one or two. But the area of actually researching the area, Mount Rubidoux in Riverside, California, is actually haunted. And they used to, during the 30s, during Prohibition, they would, bootleg alcohol through the Mount Rubidoux. And there's a lot of hikers that actually hike it every day, and, that have reported seeing glyphs and rocks thrown at them. So I think more, if anything, it's a Sasquatch in the area. I don't know if Javi can, if he's looked into that at all, but I'm pretty sure he might be able to say the same thing. But we went out there and we did the boots on the ground interviews and research, and we just didn't really, we saw some bones here and there, but I just didn't think it was a whole lot of dog, man. Because my whole thing is I'm trying to disprove to believe, it's like, we obviously got to state, was it bear? Was it, mountain lions? The things that obviously were going to stand out, the tree structures.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you there, dude. I hear you there. Oh, excuse me. Hiccup. Sorry.
No
Let's see. Who else do we have here? We have Frankie Too Sweet. Hello, and I think I'm good there. My painting is upstairs right now, Kira. My painting is upstairs. I forgot to bring it down. I will get to it, though. I shall get to it. What else? Oh, I need to tell everybody who is interested in Las Vegas, check the ticker. We have changed the email. I checked with GoDaddy last night, and we are having issues. Gmail and Google have changed some of their algorithms, so emails are not getting through. If you are waiting to hear from Kat about your VIP package and you haven't heard, you can email her or us at spacedoutradionnetwork@gmail.com, spacedoutradionnetwork@gmail.com. It will go through, and that way we can get everything sorted out here. This has thrown quite a wrench into things that we didn't expect, but you know what? Hey, we will battle through. We will battle through. And by the way, if you haven't yet, head on over to Marquise Williams' Facebook page, Marquise from the After Hours show. It's his birthday today. It's his birthday. And yes, that is a Dean guitar behind me. It's a Flying V. And thank you, Rex and Vaughn, for the super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with our good friend Shane Michael Crisp talking about West Coast Dogman. Is the Dogman haunting the forests of the West Coast right along with Sasquatch? Shane Michael, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. We're glad you're here too, my friend. Now, you have taken in reports. You've heard a lot of reports. Mm-hmm. When did this creature start to make its way to the West Coast, as far as you know?
The earliest report that we have on the Dogman in the West, according to the NADP archives, is actually in 1951 or 1952. It was up by Sacramento, California. And a brief summary on that was... it wasn't actually firsthand told. It was from the child's mother or the person's mother. And back before Sacramento was really a metropolis, it was a lot of farm fields. And to sum it up, I think that the mother had seen, when she was a little girl, had seen a dogman running in the area and was looking through the windows. I'd have to really look into it. But I think it was the justification of the dogman ran into the cornfield. That's pretty much what it was, and didn't know what it was. They just said some wolf-looking creature on two legs. So that's the earliest what I've read on the Dogman. But I mean, you can go back dating to the natives and the First Nation people that have seen these things hundreds of years ago. So, but from what I've researched, is the earliest report I was able to find was 1951, 1952.
I mean, this creature is just creepy.
Yes.
It's creepy. It's scary. It's, there's nothing fun about this. Nothing fun whatsoever. And yet here we are, the morons like you and me chasing this stupid thing down. Yes. Okay. And I do call us morons because it takes a special kind of person in order to do that. But the whole idea behind it, man, is this. Sasquatch, for the most part, especially on the West Coast, seems to be very cautious. It'll a lot of First Nations people will say it allows you to see it if it wants to. Maybe not the younger ones that are still learning their ways, but a lot of the older ones, they don't allow you to. You don't see them; they allow you to see them. Yet with this Dogman, everything about it seems to be around anger. It seems to be like a pissed off house cat, man. That's upset that its owner's not fed them in 10 minutes.
Yes. I mean, the Dogman, from a lot of reports I've read, are very territorial. It's like as if someone walked into your house right now, Dave, and went and laid on your bed. Wouldn't you be pissed off too? I mean, excuse my French. Wouldn't you be a little upset to say, hey, who's this guy? Wouldn't you react the same way as in being aggressive? Yeah. So that's the thing I've tried to read in on and trying to associate the Dogman with, is that they're just very territorial. And when we're hiking deep in the woods, or, my wife and I will hike, 4 or 5 miles into the tree lines, and we're, no cell service, trying to find evidence of these things. And that's one thing I have to know is that when I'm going in there, I have to respect their territory, whether it's Dogman, Sasquatch. And if you get the first sign of saying, hey, you feel that gut feeling, hey, you need to get out, that's your cue to leave, or it's going to be your Dogman dinner or Sasquatch dinner, So that's the thing. I have to always think in the back of my mind, I'm walking in their territory. It'd be the same vice versa. I wouldn't like if they walked in my territory, so.
Oh, hey, I hear you when it comes to that. I mean, nobody wants their territory played with. But I mean, the whole idea behind this is, the West Coast has always been so dominated with Sasquatch sightings. Now we're hearing Dogman kind of coming into their own areas here. Do you think that, the two are surviving together? Are they brawling? Are they having steel cage matches out in the forest? Where do you think this is going?
That's the thing is I've read, like, I'm kind of 50-50 on it because of all the reports I've read or encounters is when people, okay, we'll use New York, for example. I've talked to a good buddy of mine that has seen the Dogman and the Sasquatch. They come during different seasons. When the Sasquatch are in, around the area, they'll start to move on. And then, like, I want to say, I can't remember if it was summer to fall that the Dogmen move in. So right there just shows you that when the Dogman moves in, Sasquatch move out of the area. Obviously, they're both apex predators and that they're territorial. But then I've heard of other reports and read on that they both coexist. Maybe is it for survival instincts but then are they boxing each other out and deep in the woods? We don't know. I've never heard of a report. I've listened to a few though that are really, like, I have to keep an open mind to, where a guy said that he saw them fighting and the Sasquatch were throwing rocks at the Dogmen that were attacking them. He fired a shot and got away with his girlfriend. It's crazy stuff. I mean, it was hard to believe. But same time, I'm like, hey, got to keep an open mind to it. Do they coexist together or are they, territorial? I tend to side more on the territorial side because I just think that just like if you take two breeds of dogs, they're not going to, unless they've been raised around each other, they're going to be aggressive. So, because that you're on, the other person's turf, or the other dog's territory.
Yeah, I always wonder about that, whether I go into the forest or not, if I should bring a set of tennis balls with me just in case. But
Right.
people who have encountered this dogman-like creature, which has the body of a human, a head of, I think a German Shepherd is a good way to put it.
Yes.
I have heard people get telepathic messages from this creature,
Mm-hmm.
saying it's time for you to leave, or if they have a weapon, I wouldn't do that if I were you, or if you pull that gun out, it's going to be really, really bad for you. It's almost like this creature scares people away on purpose
Yes.
because of the territory. It never seems to do any harm, but it scares people away on purpose. Have you found that too?
Yes, I've actually talked to a lot of other researchers and investigators, and I've read multiple reports. Dogmen like to use us as, almost they like to toy with us, and like you said, they're territorial, but they use us as maybe some sense of humor. That hey, I'm gonna, when people see them on all fours, they just think a big giant wolf, but when they stand up on two legs, that's where people start getting PTSD from some reports I've read. That they're like, this thing isn't real. This is something Hollywood. Up in Michigan area. I've read just the other day, a lady was driving, late at night, saw this giant black wolf on all fours. And she's like, it just doesn't look like a normal sized wolf. Wolves aren't 5 feet on all fours. But then as the thing stood up, it had the glaring yellow eyes and freaked her out. She got out of the area. And I think that's the thing is these dogmen they're territorial, obviously. And to some degree, I believe they like to use this as some type of entertainment. I believe they are an intelligent creature, obviously, just like a Sasquatch, and want us out of the area. But do you think they toy with us, Dave? I mean, I try to keep an open mind to that theory.
Oh, I think all the creatures toy with us. I think
Like
that's part of the
Sasquatch, right?
phenomena. Well, I really do believe that's part of the reason why we haven't solved anything. They are
Mm-hmm.
the masters of their domain, which is the
Yeah.
forest, Mother Nature. I mean, we're talking about creatures that can shut up an entire section of territory of forest. And I'm not
Yes.
talking 15, 20 feet. I'm talking hundreds of yards. If you've ever been in the forest where all of a sudden everything goes quiet. The birds stop chirping, the bugs stop chirping, everything stops flying except those damn mosquitoes.
Yes.
Okay. It raises the hair on your back. It really does.
It really
I mean,
does.
you've been in that situation. Tell us what it's like.
I've only been in it one time. I was up in Springfield, California last February with my wife. Totally snowed in. Road was blocked off. We parked on the side of the road. We started hiking again. We went about 2 miles in. And one thing my wife noticed was the woods are totally silent, not even birds chirping. I'm like, okay, from all the researchers, I was a new guy. Like I said, I literally was 3 months into this Dogman phenomenon. And Springville is also a big area of Sasquatch. So we didn't see anything that stood out of the norm, but it was just that was what told me that, hey, let's turn back around. Let's get out of here. Whether it, like you said, hundreds of yards, from when we stopped and turned around 2 miles in to where we got back to the car, woods were totally silent. And then I started freaking out and thinking about it after we were driving back home. Like, that's one of the key signs that, there's something apex in those woods. So
yeah, but I mean, you don't know. Is it Sasquatch? Is it Dogman? Is it a mountain lion? Is it a bear?
exactly.
Is it a moose? But what kills you is a lot of you start eliminating a lot of those creatures. Bears make a lot of noise.
Yes,
Moose make a lot of noise. Deer make a lot of noise. Okay. Cats don't. And neither does Sasquatch or Dogman.
Yes. And that's the thing. Mountain lions can blend in and be less than 10 feet away from you, blending into the rocks or high up in a tree, and you will never even know it. And that's why one thing I was told by other Dogman investigators and, Sasquatch investigators saying, hey, when you go out in the woods, always look up and always watch your six. And when I first went to Shaver Lake, I got a report actually May of last year, and my wife and I decided to go out there, and we start hiking into the tree line, and we get about 3/4 of a mile in, and all of a sudden I did the one thing you shouldn't do, because being a rookie, I heard, hey, if you use dead animal sign, an animal that's hurt, injured, play that, and you maybe attract something. Here I'm playing, a hurt rabbit deep with my speaker on, and my wife's like, stop that. I'm like, no, I'm trying to draw them out. But then again, not realizing I could have brought a black bear or a mountain lion or something else in. But one thing, as we went about another 3 miles deep, we stopped and I started taking pictures, recording everything. And all of a sudden, my wife heard a loud snap. And it was maybe something stepped on a branch, but it sounded very loud. And she straight yelled and ran over to me. And I'm like, okay, that's our sign to get out of here. So we hiked back out, the 3 miles. About an hour later, we got out, and because it was steep. But one thing I've noticed with Dogman and Sasquatch is, you've probably heard and know this, Dave, is the waterways. They travel the waterways, the creeks, the streams as a highway. And that's where I found most of my best evidence on Sasquatch and possible Dogman is right by a waterway.
See, that one surprises me.
Mm-hmm.
I know with Sasquatch, they need their waterway.
Yes.
Okay, whether it's for birds, frogs, fish, drinking, whatever it may be. I wasn't sure if Dogman was going along the same path lines.
That, from multiple reports I've read, that they've traveled the same, just like the Sasquatch, they use the river. But another weird one I've thought that really stood out to me was the power lines with Sasquatch and Dogman. Have you heard that one too? That they use the electromagnetic, field, the circuit to follow it like a highway?
I had a First Nations friend of mine tell me his brother was working on one of the power lines here in British Columbia and paused for lunch. So he was sitting in his truck. It was a nice summer day. And all of a sudden he saw something move in behind the truck in the mirror. He looks in the mirror and everything seems dark. So he thought, well, that was weird. And he looks out his driver's side mirror, and now everything is dark there. And he's like, what the heck is going on? Sees this giant hand reach into the cab, grab his sandwich, pull his sandwich out, and then start walking two-legged down the road eating his sandwich.
What? Oh, wow. Talk about an encounter, but obviously it was by a power line, right?
right on the power lines, man.
Yeah. So that's what, like I say, I keep an open mind to every theory. And I think I found a dogman structure, and talking to other reporters or investigators and stuff, that two differences with Sasquatch and Dogman. Sasquatch have the intricately woven tree branches and the huts that are real beautiful and look like teepees almost. Dogmen just take branches, leaves, whatever they can get, and just put them together. And they dig a hole at roughly at a 45-degree angle, and they hide inside of it as like they were going to pounce out at a deer or oncoming traffic, whatever that gets too close to them. So Dogman structures are more just kind of sloppy made compared to Sasquatch, which are nice and look beautiful. And then the only way you know that it's Sasquatch is because what else in the woods with hands can bend limbs like that? Some of the limbs are 2 inches thick. No human hand, unless you're bodybuilder, to do that. But
dude, I totally agree with you. I mean, they are the kings of their domain.
They definitely
really
are.
And when we're dealing with the strength of these creatures and how gentle they are in certain situations where you can't even hear them, but they can be so physically strong in order to like you said, twist and bend and break and snap trees like there's no tomorrow. And it doesn't matter whether it's a 1-inch twig, 2 inches, 5 inches, 10 inches, or 8 to 10 inches in diameter of a tree. They can do it. And I don't get it. That takes a lot of strength, and I still haven't figured out why they're building these structures. Are they markers? Are they like crop circles for aliens? I don't know.
Well, that's the thing I've kind of noticed with, like I say, I'm more of a Dogman person, but at the same time, I still like neck and neck. I'm, right there with Sasquatch, because it's still, I almost think they, coincide together, because obviously we know that, Sasquatch puts the X's up. They put, the huts and the tree structures up. But the one weird thing I've learned with the Sasquatch is when you have the trees that are stuck in the ground upside down, that's like a big red flag. Hey, get out of the area, because multiple people have told me throughout the last year and a half that could either be a, buried Sasquatch. That's how they mark their dead, or it's, a breeding area. I don't know. That's what really gets me though. Or when you see the deer heads that are hung up on the tree, that's like another sign. Hey, get out of the area. That's like your last resort kind of thing. That I haven't came across any of that, but I have come across the X's, the tree huts, the structures, the broken branches. But yeah, that's what gets me with the Sasquatch. Dogman, I think, like the Sasquatch, they do break branches. Obviously, when I'm out there, I'm looking for claw marks. I'm on the evidence side of the Dogman right now, because I want to get the evidence so I can, like you said earlier in the show, send it to someone that we can trust. Like, I sent it to Jody Cook from the NADP, who knows people that he can have the samples tested. So that's what I'm trying to look for. I'm looking for not so much taking photos anymore. No matter what, it seems like if you get the clearest photo, it's going to be butchered in this community. People are going to say it's a hoax, it's fake. But hey, if you got claw marks, a footprint, hair samples, that's what I'm really looking for. So, and that's what I'm trying to do right now, is getting teams assembled right now on the West Coast. I'm actually talking to a gentleman in Oregon right now, and he's got a buddy of his that live on the reservation that are First Nations people, and trying to elect him to be, the state representative and get some people around there, because Oregon's actually a big Sasquatch area too. But Washington, we all know with the Sasquatch, getting away from the Dogman, but leads the country in sightings, with California being a slight second as of 2020 to the statistical reports.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are people reporting? Okay. Are they reporting noises? Are they reporting actual sightings of this? And if you've never really seen a Dogman or a Sasquatch before, how do they even know what they're looking at?
That's the thing. I believe a lot of Dogman encounters or sightings are misidentified Sasquatch. People just think, oh, I think it was a Sasquatch. But when they say they see the muzzle, the ears that had the German Shepherd looking head, and they had the digitigrade leg structure, I mean, that to me right there screams Dogman, obviously. But like you said earlier, people don't know what they're looking at because they don't believe in these things. A lot of people are closed-minded and just don't say, hey, these things don't exist. But that's a lot of the reports that I think from, according to satelliteinternet.com, it looks like it was from people actually seeing the things. And that's dating all the way back to the 1800s. If you watch the video, a few people have shared it in multiple groups, but you can see the stat line. Like you see California all of a sudden from like 1960 to 1970 be the leading one in the country. Then all of a sudden in the late 90s, early 2000s, Washington just skyrockets. And then, you know, with 676 sightings as of 2020, Washington leads with California being like 200 roughly behind it with like 445 sightings.
Right.
So we like you said, on the West Coast, we get a lot of Sasquatch. The Dogmen are, I think, not slowly. I think they've been here. It's just people don't know what they're seeing. They're misidentified as a giant wolf running across the road. But there's been multiple encounters all the way from down in LA, San Diego, all the way up to Washington and your area. So not a whole lot in Oregon, though.
I got a question for you. What do these creatures sound like?
Well, if you go to the NADP website, you can hear what they sound like. They have 3 different recordings from the ones in Ohio, which were possible Dogman. I don't know if they're 100% Dogman, but almost like Sasquatch, they have howls, they yell, you know, saying almost sound like a wolf. I would say, like, you know, I've heard so many different ones. I can't tell you if they are Dogmen or not, Dave. You know, so I know that they like almost like.
Have you
a
ever been in the vicinity? Have you ever been in the vicinity of those noises?
No, I haven't. I've only been, like I said, I've only been boots on the ground for the last year and a half, and I've only been out in the field maybe about 10 times. So normally it was during the day. I really want to do a nighttime investigation, and I was actually talking to Javi with Crypto 559 about 4 or 5 months ago about going to Sacramento. Where was a security guard that refuses to go along the river because the homeless have said that the Dogman comes out at night, and you know, homeless have gone missing, and it's the former Region 1 directors that said don't go out during the night. But it's like, hey, that's where we're going to get our best evidence. Are these things nocturnal or not? You know, that they've been seen multiple times throughout the day, a lot of the times at night. Around the witching hour, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Some people see them at 11. So it's just almost having to find them at the right time to be able to, you know, investigate these things. But I've never actually heard any howls or anything like that. I've heard a bear, you know, but that was at a zoo, but I've never heard it out in the wild, though.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. We got about a minute left here.
Okay.
Is it more growling, or does it have a command of its voice, much like Sasquatch does, where it seems to be, where there seems to be a language of sorts?
To me, from what I take from it, it sounds more like a growl. Is it territorial? Is it growling to other dogmen or howling at other dogmen? It sounds very similar to almost Sasquatch, you know. I've never heard of dogmen actually talking, kind of like the samurai sounds or the Sierra sounds, where they're doing the samurai chatter. Was it Ron Moorhead, I believe, got that back in the 70s, right? Yeah. So never heard anything like that with Dogman. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of evidence out there. I mean, as a recording, is it coyotes or is it bobcats? A lot of people say that they sound similar. So,
well, you know what? When we come back in hour number 2, we're going to take a few audience questions because I know they are starting to build up in our chat rooms. We're going to learn more about the Dogman and hear some great stories from Shane Michael Crisp from the West Coast Dogman Project. Yeah, he's one of those dudes who goes chasing monsters in the forest, and you can too. Just be safe out there. Hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio returns right after this. All right, we're clear. And I'm going to take a quick break here. I'm going to put you back in the green room, and I'll be right back in a couple minutes, okay? All right. Stay tuned, everybody. Hour 2 coming up next. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. We need it. right. We're rocking and rolling. Lori Barnes, how are you? Let's bring Shane Michael back in.
Hey.
And for those of you who wanted to see the guitar, there it is. It's dirty. It's got my son's fingerprints all over it. That's okay.
Nice guitar there you got, Dave.
Yeah. Not too bad.
Do you play a little bit or no?
I dabble, but I'm not good.
Oh, I was going to say, it's like, I like to hear you. You should play it live.
No, I've forgotten.
Maybe at the convention?
No. Old Dave will be a little bit too busy for that. Hi, Shelly. How you doing? Who else has joined us here late? Excuse me. Free Your Mind. How are you? And anybody else I'm missing here? Don't think so. If you have any questions for Shane Michael, do me a favor, put them in capital letters. It's easier for me to read them. Just I have to go get my eyes checked again. Cowboy 5 Strings, how you doing? Welcome to SOR chat. And
good to see you, brother.
We got about 30 seconds. Hey, Anthony, how you doing, buddy? That's the tattoo right there.
Ant's awesome. He's a good dude.
Yeah. Yep. And thank you so much to Vaughn, Rex, Space Cow, and the man with 18,332 podcasts, Brian Bowden. I know you're listening, Brian.
Love you, Brian.
And let's get going here in about 5 seconds, guys. So we'll quiet on down and let this thing happen.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. So glad you could join us tonight as we talk about Dogman on the West Coast. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Xanthopsia. Xanthopsia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Okay, let's do this thing. Hour number 2, we're talking Dogman here on the West Coast. From the West Coast Dogman Project, we got the founder, Shane Michael Crisp, here. Shane, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Like I said, it's a true honor to be here, and I'm just super stoked to talk Dogman. And with anybody that keeps an open mind to this thing. So we could talk Dogman all night long, really, but I know we're only here for 2 hours. So like I said, it's a huge privilege and an honor. So thank you again.
I want to know, out of all the Dogman stories that you have heard or come across, what's the one that kind of gets you the most?
As in, like, one that's like probably the best one I've ever heard, would you say? Or
yeah,
or one that's like so far out there that you're just like, that's not believable.
Well, let's just go with the best one you've heard.
The best one? Well, there's probably about 5. Martin Grove's encounter. If you haven't read his new book, it's Beast Between the Rivers, that just came out about 3 weeks ago. Just finished it last night, and he's a former law enforcement officer. He had, Dogman Encounters in the LBL out there in Kentucky back in 1993. He was with a buddy. Don't want to give away his whole story. I mean, I'd rather people read his encounter or go on, Paranormal Roundtable, or, he's interviewed with Barton Nunley, I think, a few times. But that's probably one of the most compelling to me. I mean, the guy's in law enforcement. What does he have to lose? He waits till after he's retired to talk about it because of the ridicule and, facing, getting laid off of work, if he were to have released it in 93, saying, hey, yeah, I saw a Dogman in the LBL, they would have laughed him out, and probably let him go. So he waited all the way till I think it was just like a year or two, 2 years ago, to release his encounters. So that to me is probably one of the most compelling I've heard. Vic Cundiff's channel shared some very incredible ones. Like I say, I always keep an open mind to this Dogman phenomenon because there's no experts in these fields. And I mean, obviously you could tell that, like you said earlier, there's certain people that want to say their 5 minutes of fame and say, Vic Cundiff has to weed him out in his show that if someone catches him in a lie almost. Kind of like what I do when I interview Dogman eyewitnesses. I try to ask them the same questions, but not back to back, but down the road, try to see if they are telling the truth. And everyone I've talked to and interviewed, they've all seemed to be in this not for the fame, but just to get their story out. And that's why like I said, I created West Coast, was to spread awareness and get this phenomenon out there to other individuals. Because I'm a new guide to this. So whatever I can do, and I never claim to be an expert, but I've learned a lot in just this. I'm like a sponge. I just soak up all this knowledge I can get. And, I differentiate what I believe is credible and then what's not credible. Like I say, I really don't disprove anybody. I keep an open mind to it. But then, down the road, a few years from now, a new guy starts in the field. I'd like to be able to say, hey, this is what I've learned. You can take it or leave it, but this is what I've gained through my research and my knowledge.
Okay, I do have to ask, in regards to what you have learned about this creature then, what makes for a credible story?
Just hearing the eyewitness. Now, like, you almost have to think of it almost like as in interviewing someone to see, like, if they're, really telling, almost like like a lie detector test. Someone's real fidgety or just, not making eye contact, stuttering the words, I guess you would say. That's what I kind of like look for. And I'll ask the same question. And if they think, if they start saying certain words like, well, I don't know. And they real stuttering, just not making any sense. To me, just my personal belief is that they're either making it up. Someone that's really, terrified, having to relive the encounter again, and you hear the tremble in their voice, they start, sweating or just getting real shaky. That to me almost seems to someone that's really credible, and compared to someone that just starts making it up. Oh, hey, I saw a dog, man. It was, yeah, I don't know. But like I said, I haven't really came across people that have really lied to me. I'm not going to throw a certain individual out there, but there is an individual I've talked to that said he's raised a dog, man, and named it, and it lived with them. To me, it sounds, I'm not going to discredit the guy, but to me, it's hard to believe, it's totally against everything that I've read on Dogman. I don't discredit it. I'm planning on talking to this individual a little bit more, get some more information out. But to that, compared to someone that said they saw the thing running across the road, that's where I have to differentiate what's real, what's not, or who's telling the truth, who's not. Is someone looking for 5 minutes of fame, or someone just wanting to get their story out?
Okay, when somebody comes up to you and says, I have this report, like let's take Javier from Cryptid 559er, okay, where he's got that picture of a dog man that's about 10, 15 feet behind him. I mean, when somebody comes up to you with a report like that, what do you do? What's the process?
Well, are you talking about like if he brought me the photo to analyze, or just like he had, hey, I saw this dog man that was 15, this was the picture I took, or is that?
Yeah, just run with it.
Yeah. So now if Javi came to me and had a picture, he was there, I wasn't. I'm going to take him for his word, and he, look at the photo and analyze it. And it's different when someone just goes out into the tree lines and takes pictures and starts circling, red circles in these leaves and say, hey, there's a dogman there. But if he's got his phone out split second and he happened to take a picture of it and then told me the encounter, what happened, it growled, it ran at him, it bluff charged him, and he got out of the area, to me, that would be almost more believable than someone going out into the tree line, taking photos of just, circling random circles around these, blob squatches or blob men. That's what to me is more compelling to me, is someone that has an actual encounter behind a photo, because a photo can only say 100 words. It's different when someone's going out there saying, hey, and then they start tracing the dog man in the photo. I mean, you don't need if it's actually a dog man, why should you have to trace it? That's how I look at it. I mean, I used to do that type of research. I got away from it because I was ridiculed for it. And it's just like, hey, I didn't see nothing there when I took the photo. Are these things cloaking? I mean, there's obviously some different photos that are really compelling out there. That's what got me into the field was, a good buddy of mine takes photos and they're really legit. He's out there in Kentucky. Hey, that's what got me into it. I just moved on, like I said earlier in the interview, I moved on to the evidence side. I'm not so much about photos.
So what's good evidence?
Well, I mean, good evidence would be, claw marks. If you ever listened to the Palmyra, Maine incident back in 2006, have you heard that one, Dave?
No, tell us that one.
So, brief summary, a family moves out into the countryside. It's a husband, a wife, and his stepdaughter. He was working at a paper mill. Supposedly, he had to take disability because he had bad back. And they move into this barn or to this, countryside out in Palmyra, Maine. And they get all moved in. The wife tells the husband, hey, put your guns in the barn. They're not allowed in the house. Okay. Well, right there, that's my first key is, why are your guns in the barn? You should have at least one in the house. But anyways, so the wife and the husband are sitting outside one night drinking coffee, and they start seeing strange white lights in the tree line. That's a little weird. So the next day, I think if you watch the show, I think it's These Woods Are Haunted. They kind of summarize it. The daughter and her boyfriend are walking the dog along a tree or in the woods, and they come across this hut, and they look inside of it. It just looks really weird. They got weird smells. They go back. Well, the next day, the husband is out trying to retrieve something, I think, and they see four or five yellow eyes looking at him from the field, and they start getting closer in. And then to sum it up a little bit more, the dogmen or these werewolf looking like creatures start jumping on the house and, terrorizing the family. And the husband was trying to get to the barn to get his gun. And so they all, sit in the living room, and pretty much the story comes back, the next morning they were gone. So sorry if I butchered that story, Dave. I'm just kind of going off basic memory of Palmyra, Maine incident. It's one of the best out there. You can check it out on YouTube or These Woods Are Haunted. But Nick Valente, when he was still with the North American Dogman Project, actually drove up there and, checked out the house and got photos. There was claw marks along the house right there. So, I mean, there was obviously evidence of dogmen, werewolves, whatever bipedal canine was there terrorizing the house. They did have the evidence from the house with the claw marks.
Wow. I couldn't imagine seeing my house scuffed up like that.
Right.
What's the difference between a dogman's claw marks and, say, a bear?
That's a good question. Well, they say that, dogmen have like raccoon-like hands with a disposable thumb. And so it would be really hard to tell. I would almost assume height-wise, if you're looking at a tree, obviously claw marks, bears are pretty big on 2 feet when they stand up. I mean, they stand, roughly 6.5 feet tall. But the ones that get me are the claw marks that are 8 to 9 feet, because dogmen are reportedly known to be 7 to 8 feet tall. So, I mean, if you're looking at a tree, and there was a recent dogman sighting, and you see claw marks 9, 10 feet up in the air, I mean, that would make more sense to me than a bear. But then again, a bear could be climbing up a tree, and then maybe it slid down, and it's hard to tell. I mean, there's no pinpoint proof saying, hey, that's a dogman, Right now, like I say, we're at a concrete barrier because we don't have really any circumstantial evidence. I found really legit looking prints that could either be a dogman or it could have been, there's no wolves in California. There's 5 of them in Northern California, but where I researched and found a canine print, unless it's a mountain lion with a canine looking print, I mean, it measured roughly 13 inches long from what I'd found. And then I just found one recently 2 months ago, and it had what looks like a disposable thumb in the mud. It was by a waterway. I posted it actually on West Coast Dogman on my page, and a lot of people said, hey, it looks really weird. It could be a dew claw possibly. But I just say, hey, this print stood out to me. but never claiming proof that, hey, there's dogmen out there. But like I say, we just don't have really any circumstantial evidence other than really legit, paw prints where you'll find more in Ohio, Pennsylvania, things where there's a lot of activity on the East Coast compared to out here. I don't believe we have a whole lot of researchers actually investigating the whole dogman phenomenon out here on the West compared to the East, with the, up in Pennsylvania, Northeast, and then the Southwest or Southeast, I'm sorry.
Let's get to some audience questions.
Okay.
Let's start off with DOD here. When did the Dogman report first hit the mainstream or levels of Bigfoot cases?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, the first reported case, we know that the Michigan Dogman was in Wexford County in 1887. So I don't think Dogman really hit mainstream until the Gable film, or when Linda Godfrey in the 80s and early 90s was really researching the Beast of Bray Road. And that's where I would say, if you want to say mainstream, I'd say Linda Godfrey was the one that really took it and made it mainstream.
All right, let's move on here. Let's go to another question. Let's go to the ferret. Newbie question. Are dogmen the same as a lycanthrope, in your opinion?
Good question. I keep an open mind to it. Lycanthropes are, werewolves. So one thing I will say for the ferret is, one thing I've read and researched with and talked to the researchers, werewolves have the shorter snouts and have the more pointier ears and have the human-like leg structures. Dogmen have more the digitigrade leg structures and have the longer elongated snouts, and the ears are on the side of its head. Is it fact? We don't know. It's just a lot of, good theories out there.
Lots of good theories. Okay, let's continue on here. Let us go to Brown Dwarf. Does the West Coast Dogman Project have any Border Patrol reports and any Brazilian cases?
No, I sure don't. I've heard of a few different Border Patrol reports, though. Jody Cook actually has a few that he's talked about. The two that I've listened to was one gentleman had actually seen a hyena variant, and it freaked him out. I guess a lot of immigrants were going missing as they were trying to cross the border, but a lot of them went missing. And he'd seen this werewolf-looking like creature. It was a hyena-looking thing, and he was going to go report it. And his partner told him not to report it. And at the end of his shift, he was handed his pink slips and said, "Hey, you're done," because he was trying to stay hush hush about it, but didn't know how to, really. What did I just see? They laid him off after seeing it. So, but yeah, I don't really have any Brazilian cases or any other Border Patrol reports that I've heard of.
Okay. I know with Jody, he actually, after one of these shows that he did with us, he got a bunch of military reports from not only Brazil, but in Afghanistan about these Anubis type creatures that were dogman-like, standing 8 to 10 feet tall, with body armor, and they were just slicing and dicing anybody that would come in their way.
Yes.
It's crazy.
He's got a lot of reports. I mean, Jody's been doing this for well over 30 years now. He's one of the trailblazers in this field, and he's boss to me. So I'm just a regional director for him, out here in the West, trying to help him out with whatever I can, whatever I come across. So yeah, he's another trailblazer, just like, Linda Godfrey, rest in peace. So she was a awesome lady. I never got to actually talk to her. That's one of the things I wish I would have got to. Because I heard she was a one of a kind, just sweet, honest
brilliant
lady.
Yes. She was absolutely brilliant. And, I love her and miss her to death. It was a sad day that she passed away last year.
Yes. Very sad.
Losing her and Butch Witkowski all in the same year. That really sucked for us.
Yes, it does.
But hey, we got to move on. All right. Continuing on here. Let's get to another question here. Let's go to Dave. Shane Michael, do you believe the Dogman is trans-dimensional like Sasquatch?
Good question, Dave. I keep an open mind to it. I do believe that if they're in this realm, if they are interdimensional, and if they're feeding on a carcass or they're here in physical form and they're breathing and drinking water or something, I believe they are flesh and blood. But if you hear about them coming out of a portal, I do keep an open mind to it, because I don't believe we are the only things or the only dimension here. So I do keep an open mind to the transdimensional theory.
I think we have to be.
Yes.
I really don't. I mean, I heard one really cool theory in regards to Sasquatch where we only ever see one print.
Mhm.
Or if you find multiple prints, a lot of times it's a left foot, and then like 20 feet away, you'll find another left foot or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
And one of the theories that I heard, and I'd never thought about this, but it seems to make a lot of sense, is that Sasquatch has the ability to walk 1 foot in our realm and another foot in another realm.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good one, Dave. I was always thinking that, with the Dogman, they can jump really far. Same with Sasquatch. I've actually a video that I've shared with Javier, and you just watch the Sasquatch just moving through the tree line, but they take such big, long strides. I think they've measured one Sasquatch print to the left foot to the right foot. It was like 48 inches in stride. So, I mean, we're talking 4 feet. And same with Dogman, we've only found like roughly one print. Are they jumping into trees, or are they jumping through portals, or stepping in one realm and out the other?
Could very well be.
Very well
be. We don't know. And that's the interesting part about it. We don't know, but we can't rule it out. All right,
Yep.
Let's continue on here with another question. To follow up from Dave. Have orbs or sightings of UFOs been associated with Dogman Encounters?
Many, many times. I believe it was, I was talking to Nick Valente a few months ago, and he was telling me that with all the studies he's done, he's calculated it up. I might butcher the number here, but I think it was, of all the reports he's added together, there was like 92 or 93% of UFO or orb sightings after an encounter or a sighting of a Dogman. So if you listen to Josh Turner with Paranormal Roundtable explain his encounter, he saw the Dogman, and the next thing they saw a bright light just out into the sky, and it vanished. So there is lots of reports actually out there of UFOs or orbs and strange lights after. Same with Sasquatch too.
Yeah. All right, let's continue on here. We got time for one more. Let's go to Pixie Lara. In Bigfoot research, we know there have been casts of footprints. Have there been any casts of Dogman prints that you know of that were credible?
That's a good question. Not that I've seen a lot of prints, but to say, I know Jody actually went on a show on UPN, I believe. They were doing a whole documentary on a Dogman, and he had presented them with a cast of what appeared to be a Dogman print. The experts analyzed it. They said they came back with it and said it was a bear print. But I do believe that some of the prints I've seen are legit. But then again, like I say, till we actually say, hey, this is a Dogman print, we don't know. We're at a concrete wall right now.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, when it comes to it, the Dogman footprints, I mean, how do we tell if it's a Dogman or just a giant wolf or a Great Dane that's gone for a walk with its owner? I mean, how do we tell?
Well, that's another thing is when obviously Dogmen have the digitigrade leg structure, so they have the backwards bending knee. So with something that size and that frame, of course, we're going to look for an elongated Dogman print. I mean, compared to a wolf, yeah, wolves or timber wolves have the large heels or large footprints, but with a Dogman, when it's bipedally, you're look for more of that heel, where the backwards bending knee, where it prints down. So you're going to look for something that's obviously canine in print, but almost have a heel to it, but being anywhere from, let's say, 7 to 13 inches long, because wolf prints are only 4 to 5 inches, long. And I think wide as well. I think they're 3 by 5, if I'm not mistaken, on average.
On that note, I'm going to get you to hold on right there.
Okay.
Because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Shane Michael Crisp is our guest tonight. on Spaced Out Radio from the West Coast Dogman Project and the North American Dogman Project. This guy is researching the cryptid creature we call Dogman. Not werewolf, Dogman, bipedal canines. It doesn't get scarier than this. We will return with audience questions on Spaced Out Radio. We're having a great time tonight. I hope you are too, listening in wherever you are tuning in. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Stay tuned. All right, we are clear.
Awesome.
It's flying by, dude. Flying
I
by.
know. I've been having a lot of fun. Like I
Good.
said, I could talk Dogman all day, but I mean, that's the only thing that sucks about not actually having an encounter, seeking one. And I said earlier, we're the crazy guys trying to look for these things, but I almost want to see with my own two eyes, just prove to myself that these things are real. I believe they are. I have to see something to believe it, though. I believe the Dogman, it's out there. I want to see one, but I almost have to be on the same frequency level, I believe, to almost see one.
Well, be careful what you wish for, my man. Be careful what you
I
wish
know.
for.
A lot of people said, you're crazy, you're stupid. Why would you do that? Well, hey, how else am I supposed to prove this thing exists? I mean, I'm not one to try to get fame in this. I'm not trying to do all that. I just have answers that I just want, exactly that answered. So
I hear you. I completely hear you.
Now, what's your whole belief, Dave? Do you believe that Dogmen exist? I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
from the
I do.
report.
I've
Keep an open
known
mind
people.
to it.
I know people who've seen it, and
Okay.
I think back in 2017, I was actually in the presence of one.
Wow.
I have no, and I cannot prove that.
Mhm.
I cannot prove it whatsoever. But I was getting firewood, and my partner and my son were in my truck. And the minute we turned up and went down this logging road, it was nothing but fear.
Wow.
And I got out of the vehicle, no noise, and because I was right by two trees that I wanted to take down. Excuse me. And the energy was so thick that I said, look, I'm here to take down these two dead trees because dead trees are what causes forest fires.
Exactly.
And it's better for your environment if I do this. So please allow me the ability to do this. Okay. Keep my family safe. And then we'll get out of here as soon as we're done. And so everything seemed to calm down, but it always felt like we were being watched. And cut down the two trees, chop them up, stack them in the truck, hop in the truck, drive down the logging road about another 3/4 of a mile to a mile. And there's another big, 70+ foot dead tree there. I'm thinking, man, I could fill my truck with this one. Get out of the truck, even thicker, dark. I don't want to use the word evil because I think it's overused, but very dark, heavy, bad energy. Didn't even let my son out of the truck, hop back in, screw the tree, hop back in, and just drove off. I've been down that road dozens of times. Never felt it before. Haven't felt it since.
Wow. So it must must just be in general that Dogmen just give off a darker energy, like you said, not evil, but like almost like would you say malevolent or?
I don't know. Here's what I do know. Everything has an energy pattern.
Yes.
Okay. I've been around Sasquatch. I've been around aliens and UFOs. I've been around the paranormal and ghosts. I know what they feel like when I'm in that area. Ghosts are very heavy on the shoulders, heavy on the head. UFOs and aliens are very very light energy and very spazzy energy for me.
Mhm.
Okay. Sasquatch was very stoic type energy. Like you're being watched, but you still got to be aware and be careful, but the guard was down. This, I don't know what the hell it was. And I've only
Wow.
experienced that twice. And the second time I experienced it was last year at our Bigfoot site.
Wow.
I don't know what it was. Don't know what it was. And
No.
I would not allow my son to get out of the truck there either.
Wow.
Because I take my boy with me all the time.
Oh yeah, of course. But so you felt this dark presence or dark energy for twice already. Now, I was going to ask you real quick. Do you think that possible Gugway? Because I know Gugway, the 7 Shoots is up in Canada, isn't it?
Don't know. We'll have to wait on that conversation.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Ron, Rex, Space Cow, Brian, and BMR for the great super chats. Here we go, guys. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with Dogman Talk from the West Coast Dogman Project. Shane Michael Crisp is here tonight, and we're going to continue with some audience questions as we got some good ones here for you, Shane. So let's continue on. Let's go to DOD, who is asking, do you think the government knows more about these creatures than they're sharing?
I do. I just posted about a similar topic last week on West Coast Dogman Facebook project or Facebook page, and saying the same thing. I believe that the government knows more about these things. I don't believe they're genetically modified. I keep an open mind to that. But obviously, if you listen to a lot of encounters and reports where the government's involved, they know more than what they're leading on. And it all comes down to national forests. Dave, I told you, hey, there's a dogman out by your area, you plan on going camping, you're going to be terrified, possibly. Like, I ain't taking my kid out there. I'm not taking my family. You're going to be scared. Well, it comes down to money and the forest. So, of course, these things are hush, hush. Or if they, attack humans or whatnot, they take it out, eliminate the threat, because national parks where they get a lot of their money. So you also don't want the public outcry and the fear of, hey, there's werewolves in the woods. So I do believe the government knows more than what they're leading on to us. And I believe we will get that disclosure, not anytime soon, but in the next 10 years, possibly. I mean, the government's already released stuff on UFOs, a little bit of disclosure on Sasquatch. So I believe Dogman is just around the corner.
Well, we'll soon see. Let's go to Melissa.
Okay.
Shane, do you think these things are flesh and blood?
Yes, I do, Melissa. I do believe when they're in this realm, if you got to keep an open mind to both theories, when they're here eating on a carcass or breathing and, running through the cornfield, I do believe they are flesh and blood. But if they are flesh and blood, do you think that they, well, that's the thing. You look at David Pilotti's missing 411s and the underground cave systems. Are they connected in some way? I keep an open mind to that too. So I do believe the undergrounds, if they are flesh and blood, they're obviously living in the underground cave systems. Or deep in the woods. Could be.
Could very well be. Let's go to Emmy. If Dogman have hands, when they run on all fours, do they have to knuckle walk like a primate?
That's another good question. When Dogman are on all fours, from what people and multiple accounts I've came across, is when they stand up, a lot of the time people will hear what sounds like bones breaking, but it's bones shifting into place for them to stand biped, so where they can run on two legs. But part of that, I would assume that when they go back on all fours, their knuckles would either have to shift back, like kind of like how a raccoon walks. You would think that they would be able to do that, but when they stand up, they are shifting, I want to say, their hips into a certain place to stand bipedally.
Okay, let's continue on here. Let's go to Gloria. Do you think Dogman could be lab created?
Very well could be. They did say that some reports I've read, dogmen were used in the Vietnam War, and then when they were, done, they were dropped off in the national forest. Were those genetically modified? I do believe, they are chipped by the government. I don't know if they're genetically modified though, or lab created. Like I say, I keep an open mind to it though.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if they're lab created. I have a hard time trying to figure that one out.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
It seems really far out there, Dave. I agree. It's one of those but then again, do we know for sure? No one. We don't. So that's why I always say, hey, it's possible.
You can't rule it out. That is for sure. All right, let's continue on with another question. Let's go to Story. Has anyone seen Dogman and Bigfoot together?
That's a good one. Not from what people said they've seen them. I've listened to multiple podcasts that people come on and talk about their encounters. People that have shared photo evidence saying that that's what they saw. I can't tell you. To my knowledge, Story, I really don't.
I have heard of stories, a number of them, where it's almost polar opposite. I've heard stories of them brawling in the forest. I've heard stories of Dogman actually protecting people from rogue Sasquatches. I've heard stories of Sasquatch protecting people from rogue Dogmen. Yep. I mean, it just seems, it all seems to, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Shane Michael, but it all seems to be on whatever the territory is that they are in.
That's correct. That's exactly what I've heard. So whoever your territory you're in, that's the one that's going to protect you from the other party. I've heard multiple reports and people say that the dogmen are more like the enforcers of the woods. But then again, something that's smaller than a Sasquatch, I think Sasquatch would be more the enforcers. But then again, it depends on where you're at.
Very true. Very true. Let's go to Ant Rocks. Shane, do you think Dogman and Bigfoot have binocular type vision?
Oh, 100%. I do believe they see us before we see them, or we even know they're in the area. We can be just like my wife and I, we just go stumbling in the woods. They're probably watching us right before we got out of the car. So I do believe they have not just binocular vision. I also believe they have more of almost like night vision almost too, to be able to see, because I do believe a lot of the sightings, if you go to the NADP website, most of Dogman reports are seen anywhere from 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So I do believe they hunt at night and they use the nighttime to their advantage, just like Sasquatch. So I think they're more hunt during the night. So night vision, binocular vision, very possible.
No, and you know what? Most of the sightings seems to happen between dusk and in the middle of the night. You think this creature is more nocturnal?
That's just, I mean, I kind of look at the proof and the evidence. I think that's how the NADP was able to sum it up, was they took all these reports that they've got, and then they asked, took the times from them. And most of the times they were from 9 till, let's say, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, dusk, dawn. But that's where I'd have to send you the pie graph, Dave. Once we get off here, I'll send it to you, and you can kind of see what times that the dogmen are seen. I mean, they're obviously seen during the day too, but more, I'd say, at nighttime, anywhere from 8, 9 o'clock to 3, 4 in the morning. So that's where I think that they're more nocturnal, using the nighttime to their advantage.
All right, let's go to Sovereign. Piggybacking off of Gloria's question earlier, have you heard about dogmen being referred to as a government asset? If so, are all of them lab created or just some?
That's a good question. Referring back to Gloria's question, I don't believe they are I mean, like I said, I keep a open mind that they're lab created, but I do believe they are used in certain things as a government asset, as in wars. I mean, Jody Cook could tell you that where he heard the stories about the Dogman in Afghanistan, the Anubis type, like Dave was saying earlier. But recent report I've heard of, the Dogmen were used during the Vietnam War to carry out a few missions. And when they were done with their missions, they brought them back and released them into the national forest. And that's where they chipped them and they keep track of them. So when one of these things go rogue, that's when they shut the national forest down and they send in these 3-letter agencies that go in, take this care of the problem, haul it out of there, and then, hey, national forest is open back up. Is it true? I don't know. It's just what I've read and keep an open mind to.
Continuing on here, Anthony is asking, what do you think about all these people saying that dogmen are demons?
That's a good question. I don't believe dogmen are demonic at all. I believe they have a dark nature behind them. The ones I think that are more demonic would probably be more your Rougarous, your Skinwalkers, the Hellhounds, things like that sound more demonic to me. But I think dogmen have more of a sinister tactic behind them. I don't believe they're demonic one bit. That's just my opinion, though. So, Anthony, don't take that as proof. I just believe that dogmen aren't demonic, though.
I think there's something nefarious, but I don't think they resemble anything to be like the Hounds of Hell or anything along those lines. I don't think they're, that they're walking around with the devil wearing Prada. I don't think that at all. I just think that there is something that is very, very strange about these. I think they're more related to the Sasquatch than we probably know, even though they probably hate each other.
Going back on Anthony's question, though, real quick, Dave. I mean, if you go to Wisconsin and you think of like the Beast of Bray Road, where a lot of these things are seen, they're always around the cult areas where they're having satanic rituals and stuff, and people saying, "Hey, there was a dogman or some bipedal canine I seen." Is that a dogman though, or is it something? Well, I mean,
I actually have a theory about that because there's also, from what I've heard and learned from people like Butch Witkowski, there's also a high sighting of Dogman and Sasquatch at cemeteries.
Yes.
And when my buddy Merle, myself, and my buddy Mark had our Sasquatch encounter in 2018, it was at a place where 52 people died in a plane crash.
Wow.
And they forced us out of the forest. They forced us to leave.
Wow.
They surrounded us. And I think, and I'm speculating here and it could be my imagination, I don't know. But I think these creatures are some sort, at least some of them, not all of them, but are protectors of areas where there's a lot of sadness.
Yep.
Okay. Cemeteries, houses that have maybe burnt up in the forest, plane crashes, you name it. I think those sacred areas almost have maybe Dogman and Sasquatch as protectors of those areas.
Yes, you're correct on that. You see Dogman around a lot of native burial grounds. And I can't remember what report I read this months ago, but if we're talking interdimensional, there was some type of being that used dogmen as protectors of the portals too. So dogmen are obviously protectors of cemeteries, native burial grounds, and obviously portals. Like I said, I can't recant on my memory, but I remember hearing that. I was like, okay, that would make sense. I've tried talking to the local tribes around here and no one's wanting to talk, I'm like, obviously, but there is a high sighting of Dogman encounters and sightings around native burial grounds too.
Let's continue on. Let's go to Susie. Isn't Dogman werewolf the same? I've never heard of Dogman until the last year or so.
No, Susie, unfortunately, they're not. So werewolves obviously shapeshift, and obviously there's some bad omens behind it to why they transform on a full moon. Dogmen are just not flesh and blood, but they just don't transform, or they're just in that dog-like state, 24/7. And from going back earlier real quick, Dave, before I know we're almost done, but from other researchers I've talked to, werewolves tend to have the smaller snout, ears on the side of its head, and have the human-like leg structures, and are a little bit taller or a little bit shorter. I can't remember. And then dogmen have more of the elongated snout, the digitigrade leg structures, and the ears on top of its head, like a German Shepherd. Is that true? It's just theories that I've heard. So, but you can obviously see the difference in, a dogman compared to a werewolf.
Very true. Let's continue on. We got about 9.5 minutes to go.
Okay.
Adam is asking, do you think werewolves and skinwalkers then are the same thing?
To the same degree, yes. Like I said, I've been recently looking into the Hawaiian werewolf mythology right now called the Kaupe, and same thing, something sinister that shapeshifts like a skinwalker, and like werewolves, the Rougarou. I forget the Russian werewolf name for it. It starts with a V. I think it's like Valaus. I don't want to butcher it, but I tried to look at all the different werewolf reports, and they all across the board, there's something sinister or dark about why they shapeshift. And so I do believe werewolves and skinwalkers are the same thing, but one is more, it depends on the culture. So obviously, natives, First Nation people have the skinwalker. Europe has the werewolves, and then the Rougarou came over with that, obviously the Loup-garou, and it turned into the Rougarou, different depending on the name. So
all right, let's go across the pond to Tony. What do you think about the connection of dogman and graveyards? Well, we just kind of got into that. Is it like a dog burying bones? His thoughts.
That's a good question. I mean, obviously, there's a video that circulated a few years back where out there in Ohio, there's a young girl was filming, and they're driving by this cemetery, and during the day, it looks like a dark figure. Obviously, it almost looks like a dog man. It had the pointed ears, and it's digging in this grave. It's actually, if you want to check out those photos, they're actually on the NADP website. And if you watch the video, which you'd have to look online, but the little girl's freaking out, but it's things just digging with his hand. And if it's in the middle of summer, I don't think a maintenance worker would be digging by hand. But they show on the NADP websites, you can see the before or after photos of the grave where it was dug up. So maybe like Dave said, these things are connected, obviously, around cemeteries, burial grounds. And Ohio's a hot spot. So just let everyone know. Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, you name it.
All right, let's continue on. Just to kind of add to that a little bit, though, with the graveyards, I mean, there have been reports of Sasquatch allegedly digging up graves as well. So we're not really sure why or how, but it has happened, or at least people say it has. Whether there's proof or not, I don't know, but I just go by the reports.
Right. That's all we can do.
That's all we can do. All we can do. We're pretty much wrapped up our audience questions for right now. But I do want to add, in regards to the sightings that are happening, is Dogman a creature that is going to sneak up close, or does it try to stay a little bit further away like Sasquatch?
I believe both. I'm 50-50 on that. Obviously, they'll let their presence known if they want it to be, but I believe they're observing you just like Sasquatch the whole time if you're in their area. Obviously, we all have a stench to us where they pick up the smells, but obviously they have a stench to them too. They smell like, wet dog, death, musky smell, compared to almost like a Sasquatch, that smell real garbage-like, obviously if you smell it in the air, there's something obviously close by. So I believe that if they want to, I believe they're actually closer than we actually realize when we're out there in the woods. I mean, until they want, like you said, you almost have to be on that same energy level for them. They're almost like Sasquatch. If they want you to see them, they'll let you know, show themselves. Same with dogmen.
Okay. Do you believe then that this creature that you call the dogman, or all of us call the dogman, does have some sort of relation to the ancient Anubis type of creatures?
I do. I honestly do believe that there's some type of connection because, I mean, if you date it all the way back to the Egyptian times, talking what 4,000 years ago, there was dog-headed creatures there. I mean, Christopher Columbus has reported it. The Romans had fought off some dog-headed like creatures, the Cynocephali, Saint Christopher. I mean, there's these dog-headed creatures through all out-reported history. And you talk about the First Nations people here in this, in North America. That's what really got my interest. Was they've talked about these things for hundreds, almost the last 1,000 years. The Cherokee call them the Ulonga Duglala, and then they used to trade with the Chiatonka, and the Ulonga Duglala name almost means beast with knife-like teeth, according to D.A. Roberts in his book, who's done extensive research on the Cherokee when he did his research writing his books. So right there just shows that, hey, these things have been seen. So, I mean, to go back to the Anubis, I mean, to say that, hey, Anubis was a god, I really don't know, Dave. That I just believe that looking at our history for the last 4,000 years, obviously the beasts of Shevadon, I mean, going from there, I don't know if that was really Dogman that massacred all those people, but it was reported to be looking like a dog. So, like I say, I do believe that history has reportedly shown these things, and I do believe they've been here since the beginning of time, just like Sasquatch. Not to get religious or anything like that, I don't really believe in the fallen Nephilim or all that. I mean, I keep an open mind to it. It's just, I don't know. I do believe they've been here since the beginning of time, though.
My goodness, that's a long time. That
Yes.
is a very, very long time. 3 minutes to go here with you. Do you think we're ever going to solve this cryptid mystery of Dogman?
I really don't. I just like the Sasquatch. We still haven't figured it out since the Patterson-Gimlin film, which was, 1968? And we're going about it almost 50 years later now. So, I think we're just just cracking into it. And like I said, I don't discredit anyone's theories or beliefs. We just have to keep an open mind to it till we can get, circumstantial evidence or video evidence that, like to this day, the Patterson-Gimlin field still hasn't been debunked. People still say it's a man in a suit, whatever. But you have experts that say this is not natural. Till we can get a dog man running across the road into a cornfield, or just sitting there and it stand up on on its two legs, I really don't know, Dave. I just think that we're just cracking into the infancy of it. And I believe that maybe one day there will be disclosure like there is with the UFO. I mean, look at 70 years since Roswell, almost 80 years now. The government's releasing more and more on that. So it's just down the road, though. I try to be positive about everything. So I do believe years down the road, we will get that hey, this phenomenon might be solved. But for every answer we get, there's 30 more questions that pop up. So maybe it's a revolving door and never ends.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth? Do me a favor. Tell everybody where they can find more information on West Coast Dogman Project and the North American Dogman Project.
Yeah, so you can find me out on Facebook, West Coast Dogman Project, or you can check out our YouTube channel where we interview Dogman eyewitnesses under the same name, or you can find us at NorthAmericanDogmanProject.com. I'm also the Region 1 director, so we have 5 regional pages out there. So just type in North American Dogman Project, and you'll find us. And that's our whole thing is.
And what will people find there?
You're going to find what we've shared from the website, other people just sharing Dogman evidence, what they find on YouTube, or just articles or encounters. So we've definitely tried to keep everything. In my region, I try to at least do the same, is just sharing what I find online, just to say, hey, came across this Dogman article, just to learn more about the cryptid if you're new to the field. That's what I'm trying to do, is spread awareness and try to get that out there.
Yeah, it's something that we got to raise awareness for. That's why we talk about this subject on this show quite a bit as well. I mean, if you don't raise the awareness, people aren't going to know what they're going to see. And they're not even going to know where to report it to. This is where you come in, Shane Michael.
Yep. And that's where I say, hey, if you have had a dogman encounter or a sighting or someone that you know that's had one and but doesn't want to talk about it out of fear of ridicule, hit us up at NorthAmericanDogmanProject.com, or you can hit me up on West Coast Dogman Project. It'll get relayed the same way. So we'd just definitely love to hear it and document it. And if you're in the States, we'd love to get a team out to your area.
Absolutely. Shane Michael Crisp from the West Coast Dogman Project. Coming up next, we are going to head to the swamp. Swamp Dweller will kick off hour number 3 with another spooky story. Then little Timmy Senor is coming on in with a brazen UFO report on Spaced Out Radio. Great job tonight, Shane Michael.
Thank you, Dave, so much for having me, brother. I appreciate it. It's a true honor.
Oh, dude, we just got to get you to Vegas.
Oh, I'm gonna try to convince the wife to get me there. So
tell her we'll become best friends if we do.
Oh, we already are.
I know, dude. I know, but I'm trying to play a card here.
I know. I'll tell her, hey, Dave's telling me I have to go. So yeah. I'll drag her and my boy out, and I'd love to be there, see and visit you, Jessica, and everybody else.
Absolutely. We want you there, my man. I will let you go for now, but we'll talk soon, okay?
All righty. You have a good evening, and thanks again, Dave.
All right. Take care. Shane Michael Crisp, everybody, from the West Coast Dogman Project. I'll be right back here in just a few moments. All right, I'm back. Once again, if you haven't received any emails from us and you're planning on going to Las Vegas for our fan party May 19th through 21st and you want to be a VIP, we've changed the email because our email server is not hooking up with Gmail accounts. No, it's not. And you're missing a bunch. So email, check the ticker down below. It is spacedoutradionnetwork@gmail.com. Spacedoutradionnetwork@gmail.com. We're going to be sending out emails once again to make sure that everybody can get their tickets or their confirmation in. We really need that to happen. Vegas is looking really good. We got a bunch of people coming. We need to get a few more. We want you to be there to join in on the entertainment. We got a bunch of special guests coming for you. We got great events from experiencers groups to the VIP party to the live YouTube show. It's going to be great. Sky watching if you want to do that. And we got a great weekend planned for you. All we need is your attendance. So go to spacedoutradionnetwork@gmail.com. If you haven't yet heard from us regarding this. Thank you to Vaughn, Rex, Space Cow, Brian, and BMR for the amazing super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love, everyone. And if you want to do some shopping at our store, go to spacedoutradio.com. Here we go with the third hour.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Xanthopsia. Xanthopsia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time of the night to kick off hour number 3, where we head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller is about to take us on another spooky journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. I am a South African man living in Motherwell, Scotland, UK. I am 42 years old and have lived in the UK for 18 years. I moved here in September 2004. Now, I never really believed in cryptids. This is because I was raised as an average, science-believing individual. I was always told to think that you only believe in a creature's existence when it has been cataloged and its DNA is on record. In 2004, I moved to the UK, and at the time, I was living in a town north of Liverpool called Southport. It is in the Merseyside, in the northwestern part of England. It is the typical sleepy English seaside town. Several weeks after I had moved there, around Christmas time, a bunch of my friends and I decided to visit a forest area in the countryside nearby a town called Formby, which is just north of Liverpool. Now, the Christmas time of year is freezing gray and bleak, so when we arrived at the forest, got out of our cars, and walked about, it looked very eerie. like something out of those old Dracula movies or a Bram Stoker story. Not long after arriving, we began to hear these weird howling noises, and it really did give me the creeps. My friends told me not to worry about it. It was probably just the wind or something, but that did not make me feel any better, and something really just did not feel right to me. So I looked at the treetops, and they were not swaying about at all. I pointed this out to them, but they told me not to worry. Things are just fine, according to them, but I just felt like something was terribly wrong. Anyway, this weird howling sound continued, and then the sound started to become like primal grunts, deep and guttural, like that of a great African ape. I could not believe it. I was in frigid England, in the middle of a forest, hearing these ape-like grunts. I started getting twitchy. I was starting to get anxiety and freaking out. I had not seen anything, but I was sure this was something feral and not something natural. So in this bunch of friends, there was a fellow South African. I told him, "Herman, does this not sound like apes or monkeys to you? You know, like the ones back home in Africa." He listened for a while. Then he said, "Yes, you're right. That is exactly like the monkeys and apes in Africa would sound like." With an absolute look of bewilderment on his face, our friends laughed and said the monkeys had followed us from Africa. And as they were laughing, there was this loud howling, bellowing scream which seemed to fill the heavens, the forest, the ground, the trees, and our very bodies. Finally, they stopped their laughter and we got out of there as quickly as possible. We drove out of that forest at top speed and spent the rest of the day at the dunes nearby Formby. There, we knew we would be safer because there were more people around and more civilization. It has been many years since this has happened, and I moved about until I settled in Motherwell, Scotland. And even though I have never seen anything physical, and that day all I did was hear things, it must have been something very big. It made such a terrible sound that I don't even know how to describe it. It is a sound I have never heard before, and I've never heard it since. But if I did listen to it again, I would instantly recognize it. Since then, I've become more open to believing cryptids and animals and other things that we don't know about. I have not told many people my story since it happened, but when I do, I get the old nod and roll of the eyes like, say, "Okay, crazy," and then everybody just kind of moves on with their own camp stories. I just don't know how to explain it, but I do hope you share this story.
Some of them just can't be explained, can they? That's why we love the Swamp Dweller around here, kicking off hour 3 of this show each and every Monday through Friday night. If you love these stories and you want more, all you have to do is go on over to his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads, and you can get more there for free as well. There are thousands for you to choose from. From the swamp to the stars, it is that time of the night again where we bring in little Timmy Senor, our resident Timbit, for the UFO report.
Nobody's gonna know.
They're gonna know.
Little Timmy Senor, it's always good to have you back, and it's nice to be with you once again, and I hope you didn't miss me too much while I was down in San Francisco.
Did you go somewhere?
Wow.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. You've been gone for a couple of days here. That's great. So, hey, why don't you catch me up? Can you give me any of the digs? What's the lowdown? What happened? Any secrets that you can reveal from the beautiful coast, San Francisco?
You know what? It was a great conference. A lot of experiencers there who were talking about their experiences for the first time or first time in a long time. And I always like that. The one thing I love about Lorien Fenton's conferences is she is always looking for fresh voices. Yes, she will have some of the regulars there. Stephen Bassett was there. Melinda Leslie was there, to speak. But hearing a lot of the speakers speak there, including John Ramirez, the former CIA agent, talk about his own experiences. One of the things that really caught me off guard with what he said was many of the members of the CIA are experiencers, and that's why they're hired.
Wow.
That one kind of tripped me out.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, let's never mind about what they were speaking about. Let's talk about behind the scenes.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people congratulating you and me for our hard work in bringing to light the information about Enigma Labs and the secrecy behind this. And the fact that they are all kind of conforming into each other is scary for a lot of people in ufology. They don't think it's good. They don't think it's going to advance the field. In fact, they think it's going to close a lot of doors. And they were very, very polite towards us, congratulating us on the fact that we were leaders in that field of bringing that story to light, and that nobody else has really touched on it regarding putting everything together, from Arrow to NASA to the Galileo project by Harvard educator Avi Loeb, to UAPX, to MUFON even dabbling in Washington, D.C. And one of the big questions was what we brought up, Tim, and that was, who's going to be the voice of the people? So I was glad to hear that was going around the conference. I really was. I wish somebody would have spoke on it. If Lorian had asked me, that's what I would have spoken on. Okay, but I wasn't asked to speak. I was MC this year. And we're just going to wait and see. But it is on people's minds, and people are paying attention.
Yeah, and we have to be able to ask those hard questions and get the straight answers. We need transparency. That is important. I mean, a lot of the information that MUFON was collecting was also given back. Historically, it's been a give and take. And so if an organization wants to come forward and accept people's information, there should be some give back and some follow-up, and perhaps somebody reach out to those individuals just the way MUFON does, and potentially even investigate. I've heard of nothing about Enigma enough to know whether they even do that sort of thing. And I think that's important if you want to consider the information that you're collecting to be even real. Shouldn't you investigate and make sure that you're collecting valid data?
Well, there was 2 points that were made regarding that. Number one, television star and former FBI agent Ben Hansen has agreed to allow Enigma Labs to use his investigations and his results. And apparently Ben has been taking a lot of heat from a lot of veteran people in this field for doing that, basically saying, come on, Ben, you know better. Now, how he has reacted to that was basically, hey, I don't have time for all the cases I'm working on. I needed some help. That's where I turned, but there were a lot of people saying, geez, man, you got to deal with the devil. You got to deal with the devil here. Like, what are you doing? And the other thing that a lot of people were talking about was how governmental it's becoming. And I was also surprised how many people are also agreeing with us, Tim, that, and I had this conversation with Stephen Bassett about UAP versus UFO. How many people there are not using the word UAP because they are convinced, just like you and I have talked about, UAP is man-made?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's also a great way to take the temperature of a room, to kind of hear what the buzzword is. If people are using UAP in the room, it's probably science and tech guys. If they're using UFO, it's probably MUFON and witnesses and things like that, just generally speaking. That's not a bad thing. That's just my observation. And I think that it is kind of dividing the community. And I feel like that is absolutely on purpose. That was placed there on purpose. Now, we can embrace it and use that as a tool, and we should. But at the same rate, it's a shame because it really has corrupted the UFO world. And so it's really hard to decipher what we're getting as far as real information on the topic of UFO and what is just swayed information that's polarized towards a dollar sign at the end of some road.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you are bang on. People are catching on within the community. And that's due to hard work from you, me, and many others in this community who have invested our time, our money, our knowledge, our research, everything that we do to try and bring to light the subjects.
Yeah.
You know,
And
we talk a lot of woo on this show. We
Yeah.
do talk a lot of woo. Okay. But there are times where we have to be serious and educate the public as to what's going on and then let them formulate their own responses. Look at what we did with, breaking the news out of Canada. Look what we did with a lot of the news that we've put together. So I came out of there thinking what we're doing here with the UFO report is very strong for the community. We're providing strong knowledge.
that's a massive compliment and wind in our sails, and we'll definitely keep it up. But that also makes me think that it creates such a toxic platform in its own way, and the way it divided the community so easily, right? And we can kind of see where it started to guide it away from the real UFO topic early on. And successfully now we have Arrow and all of these organizations. Now, let's not forget this is not a new thing, right? We've had this historically over and over in the government trying to put this topic forward. And so now we're seeing it again. Is it going to get swept back under the rug again for another 40, 20, 30, 40 years before it becomes another topic that we have to deal with? And I find it incredibly frustrating at times trying to decipher the information because it gets pretty weedy, and somebody that you're getting good information from suddenly gives you something that you just cannot swallow. And you're like, I have to rethink everything that I got from this source now. It's troublesome.
Very true. Speaking of troublesome, the New York Times has always been very pro on the UFO story, where their counterpart, the New York Post, which also happens to have UFO big mouth Stephen Greenstreet, who's caused a lot of havoc on UFO Twitter, on their payroll, they have put out an article that really slams a lot of the big names over the last few years and absolutely destroys ufology, saying that it's garbage. It's a nothing burger. There's nothing there. Let's get to it.
Yeah, so the New York Post has a brand new story that headlines "Crazy UFO believing Pentagon bosses missed spycraft for years." And this article comes to us from Todd Farley and Stephen Greenstreet. And so the next line, we'll just dive right into it because your audience is going to absolutely love this, Dave. So the Post was right. The UFO story was fake news. After a gigantic Chinese spy balloon flew over America, the mainstream media and some congressional leaders are still looking for aliens. And it's now reported that the Pentagon missed several incursions of foreign spycraft for years because they were instead looking for UFOs. How did this happen? It seems a small group of UFO activists spent years misleading a credulous media and oblivious Congress. And so on December 16th of 2017, the New York Times released a bombshell story about Pentagon UFO program called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP. And so the Times reported that Nevada Senator Harry Reid spearheaded the creation of ATIP, which was funded with $22 million to study strange, unidentified flying objects over the American skies. And so this story, unsurprisingly, went viral and UFOs became a red-hot topic overnight. 2 days after it was published, Lou Elizondo, the formal official from the Times, who claimed the director of ATIP, went on CNN to talk about the otherworldly UFOs that ATIP had allegedly studied. And so, continuing on in this story, he says that he stated that anomalous crafts were defying the laws of aerodynamics, and ended his interview by announcing, "We may not be alone." And so news headlines the following day repeated Elizondo's "maybe it's aliens" announcement and sent shockwaves all around the world. And so over the next 5 years, this now legendary story was repeated thousands of times in the media. Elizondo, who declined to comment for this story, would become a minor celebrity, appearing on primetime cable news, starring on History Channel series, and landing a book deal. And the UFO hysteria, which began with that one New York Times story, has now culminated with Congress taking official action to hunt UFOs. But most of that story was false. And exclusively reported by the Post, the Pentagon didn't actually have an official UFO program called ATIP, and Elizondo was not its director. In 2019, the Pentagon released a statement saying Elizondo had no responsibilities with the ATIP program, which they also said wasn't created to investigate UFOs. So this official statement contradicted the claims of the New York Times and Elizondo, but hardly outlets bothered to report on it. So in 2021, Elizondo filed a complaint with the DoD's Inspector General's office, claiming that the Pentagon denied his role with ATIP and was saying that it was a disinformation campaign to discredit him. So recent released documents from the DoD state that no evidence was found to support Elizondo's claims of any such campaign against him. Danny Sheehan, Elizondo's lawyer, confirmed with the Post that the DoD and OIG dismissed his complaint. So Elizondo did not return requests for comment. So this story starts in 2007 when a scientist at the Defense Intelligence Agency, James Lukatsky, says he read a book about Skinwalker Ranch and a supposed paranormal hotspot in Utah that some claim is home to UFOs, ghosts, werewolves, and all kinds of monsters. And so after reading the book, Lukatsky wrote to Robert Bigelow, the ranch owner, a real estate mogul and longtime believer in all things paranormal, and asked if he could visit. So within minutes of his arrival at the ranch on the sunny afternoon, Lukatsky claimed his self-published book and on a 2021 radio interview that he saw a small yellow apparition in mid-air inside a kitchen before disappearing in a few seconds later. And so according to his book, it was enough to convince him that something spooky was going on at that Skinwalker Ranch. And so we can get even deeper into this story here, and it's a really great story, but how could they convince Congress to spend taxpayer money on Pentagon program to study ghosts and goblins? Simple. They just wouldn't mention the ghosts and the goblins. So from 2009 to 2010, led by James Lukatsky at the DIA, the Bigelow OSAP contractors chased UFOs around the world and hunted monsters and skinwalkers at the ranch. But going a little bit deeper, we can see how this story publicly, the Pentagon stated that the Pentagon stated it had concerns and deemed the reports of limited value. But behind the scenes, there was shock and outrage. So you can see that there were some mixed intentions, perhaps some misinformation, but action still needed to take place because Reed's request not only was denied once or twice, but eventually was approved and the program went through. So, Dave, do you want to chime in at any point here before I go much deeper? Because I can get into the history, but you can see where this is going.
We got about 30 seconds left. And
please.
To me, there's not a lot of quotes going on. There's a lot of assumptions and piecing together. I think we also have to look at the fact that Stephen Greenstreet, who has been a naysayer of everything UFO regarding Chris Mellon, Lou Elizondo, and that entire group, this does, I don't want to say it seems like a hit piece against them, but it seems like a real hit piece against the subject that has really no information. And let's get into this when we get back. we got a lot to talk about. I think we're only going to get to one story tonight. Tim Senor, the UFO report. Are UFOs a bunch of bunk? According to the New York Times, they are. Pardon me, the New York Post. Times likes UFOs. Post, not so much. Spaced Out Radio continues after this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, buddy. Look at you all back from San Francisco. Is that some sun I see? Did you get some sun while you were out there?
No, there was no sun.
No sun. Bay Area gloom. Okay. It's one or the other. Well, you were in South San Francisco, right? And so that's typically gray over by the airport there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But cool. So that was UFO Con. Is that correct?
Yes.
Excellent. You had amazing speakers there. I wish I could have been there.
It was fun, man. It was fun. You know what? The one issue that I would say, at least for this conference, there's not a lot of young people taking it in. In order to move the subject forward, you don't have to convince the older people. You have to bring that information to the young people. Otherwise, they get UFO twittered.
Right. Right. Do you think conventions are geared towards young people?
No, they're geared towards people with money.
Gotcha. You got to get the comic book convention crowd interested because they're definitely into this topic.
You do. Like,
yeah.
we went to, Lorian has this tradition where right across from the hotel, there's an IHOP. And no, I did not eat breakfast for dinner. Okay.
Attaboy.
But Robert Perala, who's been there forever, good guy. He is outside, and this young guy walks up to him and sees Robert's name tag. He goes, UFO Con? Where's this at? And Robert was like, oh, man, we just wrapped it up here right across the street of the Doubletree. And this kid was like, damn, man, if I would have known, I'd have totally been there. I'm totally into UFOs. I got a UFO collection in my house.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, we have to try and get more young people listening in, not just to the television shows, podcasts, or UFO Twitter. Because the majority of them, they don't know what it's like to hear Stephen Bassett talk up front, or Melinda Leslie and her incredible research.
Yeah.
Or people like Science Bob and the experiences of Camille James Harden or Dr. Arena Scott, or John Yost will be a guest on this show soon.
Big fan of John's.
Nice guy.
Great guy. Awesome filmmaker.
He is so funny. He is so funny.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to be able to get to that younger crowd.
Yeah.
And if you're not, you're in trouble. Because the older crowd is eventually going to die off.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, there's still an element of it that, even amongst young people believing in it and talking about it in a real way, it's probably hard to do amongst peers, I'm sure.
But, I mean, when we were at the MUFON conference, okay, you saw it. Out of the 450 people that were there, how many were under the age of 40?
Right. Yeah, no, I felt young.
Okay. No, but seriously, how many were under the age of 40? 10?
Yeah.
12 maybe?
Right.
That's not good. That's not good. because the younger crowd is going more towards the scientific side, the social media side. Hi, Lee Lovelight. They're not. Hi, Susie B. How are you? They aren't taking in the knowledge that many of these veterans have or people have. That's dangerous.
Right.
Thanks, Steve Wolf, for that amazing super chat, along with BMR, Vaughn, Rex, Space Cow, and B. Brian Blair. Appreciate the love, guys. Really do. We're going to get going here in about 10 seconds. So let's just bring it on down here, little Timmy Senor. We'll continue with the New York Post. Rounded third, we're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. A very, very good night of radio for you tonight. If you missed it on our archives, you could find it at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bubblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We're going to continue on with Tim Senor's UFO report here, and we're talking about a New York Post article that basically is ripping everything about ufology apart. Everybody's a liar. Every story is fake. Tim, take us to it.
That's right. And so to continue with the New York Post story by Stephen Greenstreet, it appears that a small group of UFO believers distracted the media and Congress into looking for extraterrestrial UFOs, while in reality, terrestrial spycraft were blazingly flying over America with impunity. Okay, and so in a tweeted video, Marco Rubio states that, in a quote, "No one took it seriously because immediately it was about UFOs and flying saucers and aliens." And so, but rather than getting it fixed, the same mistakes are seemingly still being made. Some of the same UFO activists involved in the fake 2017 New York Times story lobbied congressional leaders like Senators Kirsten Gillibrand and Marco Rubio to create a new UFO program called the All-Domain Anomalous Resolution Office, or AARO. And so AARO is reportedly looking into an avocado-shaped UFO from 1945 and whether flying saucers turned off American nuclear weapons in 1967. Official government documents show the latter case as a hoax, but that isn't stopping the AARO from asking for lots of taxpayer money for investigations. And so on March 4th and 5th, Jay Stratton and Travis Taylor appeared at the Alien Con, a popular annual convention for UFO fans in Pasadena, California, to talk about their experiences working for the Pentagon UFO Task Force. And so it's unknown if the two, now retired from the government, will be subpoenaed to do the same by a Congress and White House currently demanding answers about how and why we missed foreign spycraft over American skies for years. And so it's pretty obvious Stephen Greenstreet's position here, feeling that the UFO topic has been derailing the potential of true spycraft and UAP, I guess, in this situation, and that it's been going on for a long time, and it's potentially put our airspace in danger because we're calling things UFO and treating them like UFO, where we should be treating them like spycraft. That seems like his position. So how do you feel about that, Dave? What should we be looking at? What is our response to this?
I have a couple of things to say on this. Number one, I'm so sick and tired of the show me proof argument regarding the downplaying of this subject. It doesn't matter whether it's a New York Post or podcasts out there. What is proof? This topic, Tim, would have nothing to study if people didn't come out and talk about this subject of what they saw. It is the public and their anecdotal stories that have brought this to light over the last 70 plus years. Then we started filling in the blanks. I don't understand the ad hominem attacks on an entire community because you don't like Lou Elizondo or Chris Mellon, which the job of a journalist, even for the weakest of the New York Post writers, is not to inflame an op-ed. It is to provide facts. That is journalism. Calling it fake news, fake stories, fake videos, fake people. There are over, what is it? What was the statistic? 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 Americans claim that they have seen a UFO. There's over 330 million Americans. So you're telling a good chunk of your population that you're full of it? That's your readers. Right?
Right.
I agree with where I do agree with the article, except they have no clue which direction they're going, is there is corruption within this community and the narrative that is being spun. We have said that since the TTSA days. That's why I tell everybody there's no such thing as disclosure. I had a conversation yesterday with Christopher Sharp of the Liberation Times. He called me up. And I said to him, he goes, Dave, what's going on? What do you think we need as journalists to improve on this subject? Tim, I said the same thing I say to you and our audience all the time. I said, number one, we have to remove UAP off of our record. Go back to UFO. And I explained why. That UAP is, I believe, man-made. UFO is not. And number two, I said, we have to get the word disclosure out of our mouths. We are in a confirmation move. And the moment we as journalists start realizing this, and we realize that we're not getting the information, we're not getting disclosure, the more we will have to report on, which is good for our stories.
Yeah.
And that was a point that he wanted to sit back and chew on for a while. But this ad hominem attack on the entire community by the New York Post, who wrote that? I don't think Stephen Greenstreet wrote it.
Yeah, no, he did.
We did.
Yes. He wrote it with a partner. And I'll give you his partner's name here. It's at the top of this story. Todd Farley and Stephen Greenstreet.
So looking at the two who wrote it, I would say this. It's a hit piece, op-ed piece. There's nothing journalism there. Nothing journalism. Show us the quotes. And I don't understand why they are attacking Elizondo or Mellon when that's not even the story right now.
Right. But they have a very loud voice, or he does, and he writes that way. And he questions people that way, if anyone is aware how he was at the con and asked Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp very confrontational questions, aggressively, I guess, potentially. Anyways, and even with the title of this article, Crazy UFO Believing Pentagon Bosses Missed Spycraft for Years. Now, I do agree to a point that the UFO topic definitely got involved in that situation. If Arrow was involved in it, or maybe not, who really knows? But my assumption is potentially. But ultimately, I think that when you see a strong position like this, it's simply because he's, angry. about the situation, and I can understand why, because quite honestly, it does feel like the UFO topic. He may believe in UFO potentially, but according to this, UFO has been used to kind of um, dumb down our aerospace awareness, and we've let things go because we're considering it UAP and we need to study it, not so much bring it down like we did with so publicly with the Chinese balloon. But I would like to consider a brand new article coming from John Greenwald recently that's even stating that the US Air Force is now saying that all the photos and videos of that 2023 balloon shoot down is classified, and obviously all of the information linked to the other takedowns. And so that comes here in a recent FOIA request that was placed by the Black Vault and John Greenwald. So, getting a denial like this is obviously speaking very loudly on their position of how they feel about these things, that perhaps their awareness has gone up and they're taking it seriously. But it's unfortunate that Arrow's going to take the fall, and that the community that is trying to segregate out UFO from UAP is going to take the hit, according to this kind of look, that they're dumbing down on all of this. They're not going to talk about it. So, yeah, it's looking like we're not going to get anything else at this point. And I would be surprised if after this interagency ends, if there was a new agency that even looked, we may see this squashed, especially after what we're seeing with Avi Loeb and his new release. We're finding that Oumuamua is explainable now with some new information. And so we're starting to see some of our woo getting squashed by science and things like that. But,
and we're going to see more of that.
And that is what you and I predicted, that they were doing these public things so that they could come out and say, hey, it's mundane, everyone, right? And they were going to squash it, call it UAP, and it's just mundane stuff. Meanwhile, UFOs are still in our airspace and they know nothing about it and they don't want to talk about it, in my opinion.
I agree. It is crazy out there right now.
Yeah, they're doubling down.
And they are digging trenches.
Yeah.
In the UFO war right now. They are digging in trenches to try and rip this subject apart.
Yeah.
And this is where I think, okay, if you look at it politically, Tim, the New York Times has really sided with Elizondo, Chris Mellon, and the politicians who are bringing this in. The New York Post has sided that with Susan Go, the Pentagon, the Air Force, that there's nothing going on. They've bought the story verbatim, and that the military doesn't want anything to do with this subject. Those are not good options for people. They are not good options for this subject.
Right. Green Street actually went to go and expose a documentary style excursion to Skinwalker Ranch to try and debunk. And, if you're willing to sit through those videos, you'll get his take on it. And anyone that goes to a hotspot with expectations, you're going to get nothing. And here's the thing, you're going to explain anything away that does happen. So, it's pretty much pointless for somebody that's already geared with, an opinion like that, to even go there. There's no point, because you're not going to retrieve any data of value.
Very true. What's the other topic we have for tonight?
We've got, let's take a quick look. So, I just tapped the wrong one. Let's see. So it looks like the Senate is planning to hold hearings in April. And I have an article from Politico.com that talks about that and what the Biden administration isn't telling Congress about spy balloons. And so obviously that is more along the same lines that we've been talking about. But the big important takeaway from this is that it's not clear whether the problem is simply about the limits of technology. Oh, I'm sorry, my tablet just blanked out on me. I apologize.
That's all right.
Completely. Okay, here we go. It's not clear whether the problem is simply about the limits of technology or also, I did it again.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, right in the middle of me reading. I apologize. Or also about how the Pentagon and other agencies have decided to prioritize and parse data. Gillibrand said that there is a push among some officials and lawmakers to have longer-term, more persistent awareness of the area above commercial airspace to better track drone and balloon technology. However, the administration has yet to decide how and whether to rejigger its approach to tracking and shooting down the objects, including whether it wants to set new thresholds in its systems that would allow for officials to more easily detect a larger number of UAPs at any given time. So those discussions have been viewed internally and as slowing down the analysis of historical UAP data. The official said that some progress is slowing. So lawmakers are actively pushing for more information from the administration. And so the Senate now plans to hold a public hearing on the topic in April. So again, a public hearing on the topic of UAP in April. And it's unclear how forthright the administration will be with its conversations with Congress about its investigative work. But National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby told reporters on March 7th that there might be very little at all, and that the administration can reveal about the Chinese balloon debris collection efforts. And he says in a quote that I've set no expectation that there's going to be some big public rollout of what we've learned.
Of course. Of course. I mean, Tim, we've been calling that since the last one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, what is the point of these hearings and bragging about these hearings and ufology getting all horny about these hearings when it's all going to be covered up? Right?
Right.
And if it's true, pardon me, I apologize for cutting you off there.
No, please.
Okay. If it's true that they're going to be talking about the Chinese balloons and drones, that doesn't sound like UFOs, does it?
Right.
Now, are we talking aliens and UFOs, or are we talking UAP? And look, to our audience out there, we keep showing you these examples to show the cover-up that is going on regarding this subject in Washington, D.C. There are no such things as disclosure, and UAP are man-made. I don't know how much more right we could be, Tim.
Right. The very frustrating thing is that publicly you hear Avi Loeb and all of the other people that are speaking on this topic with their strong belief of alien life and the possibilities, and then they turn around and support the data that goes against UFO and never even talk about it. In fact, only support that everything is UAP and mundane. So it's very frustrating, and I include people all across the board here, because it's very frustrating to see them kind of including the UFO people and topic in this, and then turn around and just completely disregard that topic when they're talking on a serious level to the government and representing data. And so there's definitely like a massive gap there. And when you see organizations like Enigma or any of these organizations that are wanting to help with the public portion of it, you've got to wonder exactly how they're motivated. And that can be a little distressing, especially when they're calling for public hearings. Who's informing them? Who's writing those questions? I know that, well, I don't know, but I have been led to believe that MUFON took place in helping to construct some of the questions for the first public hearing. And so we know that that potentially was a little bit weak, and they weren't properly prepared with video. So maybe the second time around, they will have some help, be more prepared. And the questions that are asked should maybe come from a consensus from the community rather than just MUFON itself, perhaps just one person from MUFON for that reason even. It's tough to get represented.
It's going to be tough. I mean, look, there are people like Gary Nolan who are standing out. Okay, Nicole Sackage basically just put in our chat room, and thank you, Nicole, for that. Said on another podcast earlier, all of us know that the woo is just around the corner. I would agree with that statement because you can't connect any of this without the woo and the experiences people are having. The question is there enough people within the community, from the alphabet agencies to the elected officials themselves, who will have the time to understand the importance of the experience when it comes down to it?
Right. And Nicole brings up a great point, but you have to also know your audience, right? And so when Gary Nolan is talking about the Cade Putnam and it's and the effect of UAP on it, general public is going to glaze over and just go, who is Gary Nolan again? How was he up for a Nobel Peace Prize or whatever? Like how? And it's just because they don't understand that it's a much deeper thing than just things in the sky. There's this consciousness connection. So that is a tricky part to get to. The woo, I would love to think it's just around the corner, but it's not provable. Consciousness itself is not provable. And I think that's some of the stuff that Gary's running into as a massive problem, right? And so it's going to be tough to sell that to the public, even if it is medically provable. I know John Burroughs now even has a situation that seems provable. It's not going to be enough. I would love to think that woo is going to get proven. I would love to think so. Gary's got his work cut out for him in a massive way, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree with you. Man. And Tim, I want to say a big thank you for you coming on in Space Out Radio again tonight. It was good to have you back regarding the UFO report.
Thanks,
and
bud.
I'm looking forward to doing it in a couple nights' time again.
Right on. Welcome home, bud. We're also happy to have you back.
Absolutely. Now we just got to find out where Random Guy is. He's hiding out there somewhere. Just like Brother is watching.
Yeah.
We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
make a mistake. We're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. There we go. Another one in the books. And just like that, we've closed the door on March 22nd, 2023. Let's let's see here. What am I doing? Oh, yeah. Got to download this. Mm-hmm. There we go. So what do you guys think about the New York Post article? Are you just as shocked as I am? Be right with you in a second. It was a spiffy show. Just spiffy. The New York Post. The New York Post. Free your mind, I think you make a good point. Seems kind of calculated. The distractions are getting ridiculous. Very good point. I never talked to Random Guy today. He's been a little busy. Yeah, it did go quick, Roy the boy. Random Guy has been, excuse me, busy with his family. He doesn't come on nights when he has his kids. Oh, very true, Derek. I did bring back some souvenirs. I forgot most of them upstairs. Got a couple of really cool books. I got some alien soap. I got this hat right here. Bring it to Vegas there, Javier. Are you and the wifey coming? Or no, that's Shane. Sorry. Thought it was still Javier there. Can't read when the green lines up. Excuse me for my yawning in your ears. I didn't get any Yeti soap. But I will tell you this. The hotel I stayed at, I could have stolen their pillows, man. Their pillows were fantastic. Some of the best pillows I've ever slept on. I did not. Sovereign. Farts, you are making things up again. Oh, these pillows were amazing. I'm hungry. Outside of of Lorian's conference, there's going to be very few people or few conferences that I go to. I just don't see I used to be all about the conferences. I want to speak at a minimum of 2 conferences a year. Now I'm kind of like, no, no, no. I don't think so. Trying to drink more water again because the American food totally bloated me. To be honest with you, totally bloated me. So fucking good though. So good. Mystic's Walk. That's actually a good thought. Excuse me. Night number 1, I had a steak that wasn't very good. Hold on. A cheesecake that wasn't very good. Now, the breakfast wrap was fantastic. The Taco Bell at 1 a.m. Heaven. It was cheese, salsa, sausage, bacon, lettuce, tomato, eggs. Freaking good. Okay, excuse me for a couple minutes, guys. I literally got to get some fresh air. Otherwise, I'm going to be falling asleep on you. So give me a couple minutes here. I'll be right back. Try and move my chair. All right. I am back with a vengeance. Not really, but you're okay, Jerry Carter. You're okay, my man. They didn't get me. It's actually plus temperatures outside right now. Oh, the melting is going on. The melt is underway. Love it. I love it. All right, we're going to go blurry there for a little bit. No more snow. No more snow, please. I don't want any more snow. No more snow, please. Leave the polar vortex alone, Thurston Howell III. And if you hear me wheezing, it's my nose. I get really plugged up down in the U.S. too. Actually, not just the U.S., but in cities. Like when I go visit my parents or something, I get very, very stuffed up there. I don't know when Dr. Michael Masters is coming on again. Total deviated septum. If you were to draw a zigzag, that's what my deviated septum is like. Hellion Beast, welcome to the chat room. Yeah, I sometimes listen to my nose at night. It keeps me awake. Squeaking. My nose squeaks like Sovereign Fart's butt. That's done. That one's done. Let's do this one. Give me 2 seconds here, guys. There we go. Oh, Hellion. Well, we're glad you're here. Thanks for checking us out. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that bell. Gemma Jackson, how are you? That's why I got my Vicks inhaler here all the time. Tightens them boogers right up. Oh. Thurston Howell III. I have my own little buggy that I like to drive. 2 of them, actually. I have my side-by-side, and then I have my Jeep. Christine, I do. Vicks Vapor Rub is always around. Love V Love loves her Dodge Caravan. She could go to from 0 to 90 in 8.9 minutes. with me, guys. All right, that is done. Tomorrow night on the show, who do we have? We have John Yost. Little Johnny Yost is going to join us. Now, I got to meet this dude in San Francisco. He's a lot of fun. He's hilarious. We'll talk about his movie, Alien Abduction. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. His story is scary as hell. He's a movie director and an experiencer. That's who we're going to talk about tomorrow night on the show. Thank you tonight to everybody who hit that subscribe button. Vaughn, Patrick, Rex, Space Cow, Brian, BMR, and Steve for the amazing super chats. Very, very thankful for all of you supporting this show, giving us a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a comment down below as well once we exit here, which we're going to do right now. Take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.